You know, and if our organization got bigger and we ended up having 8, 10, 15 employees, I would not talk with you around them the way that I talk with you now. I mean, I would still talk with you that way, but it would be in an office.
Just
It
imagine.
wouldn't be on the floor. I
Yeah.
wouldn't walk up and be like, "What's up? Let's do some cocksucking."
Yeah.
You know, like it's an office.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 94. Happy Mother's Day. Hope you all
Happy
have
Mother's Day.
thrown some love at the women that had the courage to shit you out. Throw some love their way. They deserve it for all the effort that they put, making sure that you're not a garbage human being. And if you are a garbage human being, then, well, fuck me. We got a problem. But always show your... You should be showing your mom love all the time, but this is just an extra occasion to do so. Buy her some flowers, a box of chocolates, I don't know, a card, something. Even just a phone call. If you haven't talked to her in a while, throw her a phone call. As long as you're still in their mind, that's all that matters to them sometimes. It's definitely required. You cannot listen. I'm going to deny you the privilege to listening to this episode any further until you call your mom. This is going to come out on Tuesday, so none of this fucking matters. But till you call your goddamn mom and tell her that you love her.
We should have said it last episode.
It's whatever.
Yeah, well, belatedly wish her Happy Mother's Week. There you go.
Yeah, make it Mother's Week. If you haven't taken her out to dinner, you haven't seen her, then do that, man. Fuck. Your mom loves you. Just like I love you, son. Okay. I don't know how that fucking divulged. But welcome, everybody. We are back. Gonna be chilling back and forth this episode. Quite a few interesting things to talk about. We got some YouTube drama. We're not gonna go too deep into that. Yeah, but we're gonna present.
I think everybody else has covered it to a sufficiently nauseating.
So we will just bring our opinions on the matter, and then there's also some video game drama. We're all about the drama here on the drama alert. This is the new drama alert. So.
Oh God, no! We're not going to turn into Keemstar. We have Stoles.
That man's such a fucking meme. But
it is kind of funny that like he was like just this human monstrosity, and all of a sudden, people are almost treating him like he's legitimate now.
I'm fast as fuck.
Even though he was like just as bad as Leafy back in the day.
Oh yeah, 100%. Happened to Leafy? Is he dead? Did his chin finally consume the rest of his body? I think so. Damn, dude, all this shit talk. They're gonna when we're super popular in like 3 months and we have 16 million subscribers, they're gonna come back to this episode and they're gonna get us, bro. Just take clips of everything.
I hope so. I welcome the challenge. Bring it.
Yeah, bro. Me and my 16 million
subscribers. I will welcome
subscribers.
all the horrible, hateful, nasty things that I said.
Damn straight. I live with my mistakes. I don't hide them. Y'all can learn a thing or two. Just an embodiment of every mistake I've ever made. A walking failure. I love it. All right. That probably took that too far. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you, but
I'm very offended.
You should be. Hey, you got to stand up for when someone calls you a walking piece of failure. But
yeah, my feelings take place over any facts that you have.
Exactly. Fuck, where was I? So, I'm glad you could join me, Shawn. Sam may join us later. He may not. He's eating dinner with his mom, showing her the love that she deserves. So we might hear from him. We might not. I don't know. But if someone comes in and you hear you hear a man come in like, "Hey, y'all, how's it going? I'm Sam." Then you know who that is. That's Sam.
Yeah, even though he doesn't sound like that at all.
No, it doesn't. But where's our other intros? Shawn, how the fuck you been? And what the fuck you been playing? I want to know.
I have been playing Path of Exile. I have found that to be Diablo 4, essentially, with a whole bunch of...
You mean proper Diablo 3?
I don't think the microtransactions aren't really so bad in that game, considering it's a free-to-play.
That's good.
I know there's a whole area of microtransactions I haven't been involved in, and it's not user-friendly by any means. Like, there's a lot of needing to go online and look in forums and shit like that to see how things work or what works certain ways. It's the in-game explanations and tutorials don't work fantastic.
Hmm.
So that's kind of an issue that you never had with Diablo. Diablo pretty much walks you through how to work with your character until you're ready to take on yourself. And this doesn't do that. Like this is fully for people who are familiar with the genre, and the uh, customization is like extraordinarily intense. Like every character looks the same. You can't do anything with your appearance, but all of your armor, you can get skins and shit like that. You can do that, but it really doesn't. You're so far away that the appearance of your character doesn't really mean dog shit. It's just very complex. The system's very deep. The voice acting's great. The graphics are fine. It's a top-down dungeon crawler. And it's got kind of a Cthulhu-esque feel. Like Diablo always bordered on horror, and a lot of its context was horror, but this goes a little bit deeper. I like it, but it's very difficult to kind of comprehend how all of the elements work together and how the builds work. And there's a lot. The community's been alive for a while on PC before it came to console, so they use a lot of catchphrases and shit that I don't know. So I've kind of been unraveling shit to figure out how everything works, but it's fun. I've also been playing what I believe it's What Became of Edith Finch,
Uh,
something I started recently, and
yeah.
that's been pretty interesting. Did a little bit more of Hollow Knight. I just found out that there's actually an actual secret real ending that I have to make sure that I get, so I don't have to play the fucking thing twice.
I fucking
So
hate
that's
that,
gonna
bro.
be fun.
That and when
Yeah,
a
like
game locks a harder difficulty behind completion, that shit pisses me
mhm.
off. Like I hate Resident Evil. I think did that. Yeah, I think it was something did that recently that I played.
Devil May Cry
Yeah,
does
played through
it.
it
Like
once.
a lot of them do it.
Well, Devil May Cry is not as bad because the game's just shorter. But if you're playing a game for like 30 hours or 40 hours and then you have to restart on hard, even New Game Plus, it's just like I want to play the game. If I want the game to be ball bustingly hard right off the bat, the moment I go in blind, let me suffer in that decision of my own fruition, not have me learn, because then it's not as fun because then you know the entire game back and forth when you go back in for the
I
hard
still
mode.
remember you crying tears of agony when you decided to jump into Persona and hard, and then you found out what that meant.
Yeah, that was a
Fucking boss battles
fucking
taking you like 8 hours of tries because of like you have to be extremely meticulous with every choice you make in terms of buffs and debuffs.
yeah, bro. And then on top of that, you'd be in a palace and amazingly far from your last save, like 40 to 50 minutes. You get into a fight, and then everything focuses Joker down to grind him into fucking dust before you can even blink your eyes. And before you know it, you're at your last checkpoint 45 minutes ago. I had that happen like seven
Four
or
was like that too.
I had that happen like 7 or 8 times within my playthrough, which is probably the reason that there's also a lot of grinding that was done in that game, especially once I got the
Did you hear Royal doesn't even come out till next year?
Yeah,
Like they pushed it back a year. Like how the fuck do you push? There's not they. I mean they added a wealth of content to four, and Golden came out a good while later, and that game is borderline perfect as long as you understand that you're not even starting the game for like 45 minutes. Like the first almost hour's worth of interaction is just dialogue.
Persona's the same exact way.
But the
Or 5 is the same exact way.
yeah, but the first Persona wasn't like that. The first Persona was a very different beast, and the second one also wasn't until the third one, I think, believe which was on PS2, that started to divert away from that and kind of get into the formula that we're familiar with now. But the first Persona still was like extremely dense and with exposition and dialogue. Like what your first? No, actually, in a way, it was similar because you start off in these overhead JRPG style classrooms,
Mm-hmm.
but with the realistic body proportions. Like they don't have like
They're
they
not
they didn't
chibi.
look exactly like cartoon characters. Yeah, they were more
Yeah.
like in the taller, lankier built characters, not definitely not chibi, but they when you would leave the classroom, you'd go into a first person perspective and get lost in the world's largest high school. And then you had to go into each room and talk to people for fucking ever. Because I remember my sister ended up playing that game before I got to, and she spent hours walking around the high school. So I could be very wrong in how long it takes to actually get into combat with that.
Yeah.
The Shin Megami Tensei series is very different. That one is an RPG through and through. It doesn't have, where it does have lots of dialogue and exposition, it doesn't have the
Social
world building
aspects.
for like an hour. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it gets straight into the conflict really quickly. But
Yeah.
the combat in that is equally brutal. It's just it doesn't give you a choice of difficulty. It just is hard.
Yeah. Dark Souls. Here you go. Have
Yeah,
fun.
even though Shin Megami Tensei was around before Dark Souls, it's
Yeah.
the Dark Souls of RPGs. Like I got flattened in combat so many times, and it was even worse because I was trying to Pokemon it instead of combining enemies, because you're supposed to sacrifice enemies, and it just seemed morally reprehensible to me to take two uh, spirits that you have brought into your party as player characters,
hmm
because you can fight with your actual humans or whatever demon etc people that join you, but you also can recruit demons and fairy. Basically everything that is supernatural is a demon in the world of Shin Megami Tensei. So fairies, gods, any character, anything that you find in combat, and a lot of things that you talk to, like Loki. You find Loki in a bar, for instance.
hmm
You can if you do just the right set of things, you can bring all of them in. But if you actually want to have a stronger party out of these 30 or 40 or 50 enemies or so on that you're recruiting, you have to kill them.
Yeah.
You take them to a fucking machine and it rips them apart and combines them into a new enemy, which is somewhat random.
You know what you do in Persona 5? It's the same exact thing, but you literally put them in a guillotine and you like wrap them up in this tarp and you put them in the guillotine and it decapitates them. And then that's how it forges the two souls together and makes something new.
They just don't want you to be comfortable with anything that happens in these games. Like they want you to feel like a horrible person.
Yeah, I remember feeling
like
bad the first couple
it
times.
gets so hard if you don't do that. Like if you try and play the game without combining the souls in the Tensei series, you start seeing this extremely steep difficulty curve.
It's
and the only way to bend it back down is to combine and kill your guys that you've been leveling up.
It's pretty much required in Persona 5 because like that's the best way to.
Such fucking awful.
It's like the best way to diversify like what you can do in combat, because a lot of Personas, they have like their niches that they fill. But if you want to make like your character really fucking OP and resilient, you need to combine a lot of passives, a lot of actives together, so that when you're in combat, you can make Joker a fucking god among men if you really tear apart the combination system and finding skills that will work. I've seen people survive like crazy shit, fight the hardest boss in the game by themselves as Joker and just annihilate it because they've spent all these hours building up this god tier level persona with like the perfect skills and the perfect stats, and just kept breaking things down and reforging and all this shit in order to make it as strong as it can be. So if you really take the time to delve into the system, it will definitely reward you. And I had to a bit for the harder difficulty just because it's obviously not fun getting one shot when you go into a combat scenario and having to restart 30 minutes back. So you kind of want to put a little bit of extra time into making sure that Joker's not a piece of paper mache. So like someone doesn't sneeze on him and he falls over kind of thing. So it definitely paid the time to sit there and kind of figure out what the fuck I was trying to do with my character and how I was going to build him to make him somewhat strong. Because you want to cover all your bases. You want to make sure that you have as many skills that are unique so you can cover all the weaknesses and trying to knock down the enemies and shit like that. God, that game was so fucking fantastic.
It goes even deeper into how fucked up it is, because in Persona, the spirits that you're shredding and combining are elements of your own psyche.
Yeah,
a bit like
the main
Monogatari.
Your main persona is
supernatural. Yeah, every supernatural entity in Monogatari is byproduct, a result of somebody's psychological instability.
Yeah, I killed
You
Arsene.
create monsters by having severe flaws in your personal makeup, your
Yeah.
personality makeup, and your psychology. And so in Persona, you're taking aspects of people's personality and ripping them out and smashing them in to make some new aspect that's not even connected to anyone.
Yeah, I killed Arsene within like
Just
an
to
hour.
fucking stop serial killers or whatnot.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we move on?
I think that's. Oh, I'm gearing up for MegaCon.
Yeet.
I will have my smartphone on me,
Yeah, just
so I
take a shitload of
can
pictures.
communicate events and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting. I thought about bringing this piece of shit laptop so I could do like little updates or something at night, but it's not like we're going to be recording them. So, but yeah, I've got that coming up. I have a lot that I have to cover in the next 3 days. I have to buy the food because I bring food in a cooler and I eat at the end of the day instead of spending like $10 on a hot dog or $30 on sushi because it's stupid expensive.
$10 for a single chip.
It's basically it's insane at cons, and
they're awful with that.
I have to arrange for like a ride back. I think we've got a ride out there, and then I gotta pack up clothes, make sure everything's clean, make sure I've got all my supplies, which I've not had time to do. So I've got to do that after work, and I just found out that there's a flaw in my phone from when I got it fixed, and I've got to call the guy, and I got it fixed like 2 months ago, and I waited to call him about it because I thought maybe it might have something to do with the UI. So when they did the new update, I downloaded the update and it's still there. So I've got to call him and see if he's going to give me shit about fixing it because it's been 2 months or not. Because if he does, then that's a whole other problem because it was like $400 to fix the phone. So I really hope that doesn't turn into a fucking drama thing.
When I used to do it,
outside of that, the week's been okay.
When I used to do it, if it was a part that they used, it was like, I'm trying to think what the warranty was on the part. It was like a year, if I remember correctly. That was with eBreak I Fix. I don't know how they all do it. What else are you gonna say?
Well, this was a private guy, so like he has his own little shop. He's not.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because the other guys wanted like 6. They wanted like 200 more.
Damn. Well, I'm glad that you've been good. Hopefully this is a non-conspicuous cut-in. If it isn't, then, well, something happened. But, I have played Final Fantasy XIV. Who would have fucking guessed that Kyle would have spent his time this week playing, out of all games, Final Fantasy XIV. I don't think anyone saw it coming because I'm such a fucking just all over the place all the time. I've been grinding as always. I've got my ninja to 70 finally, so I'm gearing them up. That would be my eighth combat class that's level 70. And if I gear it, it would be my 3rd or 4th that's within the 360 gear range. So I've been playing the game a shitload, to say the least. But that's been how it is. It was fun. Or it's been fun. I've been super excited for Shadowbringers, which is 50 days away. Can't fucking wait. Ooh, excuse me. Can't fucking wait. But I'm thinking of anything else. There's a new game we're looking into. It's called Yuppie Psycho. It's like a narrative horror game, kind of along the lines of like if you remember like the older RPG Maker games that kind of took over YouTube a few years back. It's something along those lines, just kind of like a modernized version of it. So it looks really interesting. Maybe try and stream that one night. Be a cool thing to do. I'm thinking.
Reminds me of that one game, that 8-bit one, where the guy is a security guard at like a lab or something like that, and all hell starts breaking loose.
It sounds familiar, but that's also like
it's 8-bit and it's side scrolling. It's like 8-bit style or 16-bit
Oh, is that
style.
the one where I think I know what you're talking about. I think I actually played that on stream for like because we used to do like a horror game stream night. God, I miss those. Fuck, I hate work that it's taken this time away from me. But
It's an older one. It came out back when Markiplier was doing all those like indie horror games and shit.
yeah, those have again they've made like a resurgence with like the 3 random horror games. Everyone doing that stuff. That's
Yeah,
a
he still does it.
yeah.
That's where he got that one game from that was all fucked up.
Oh yeah, the one that destroys your computer. Man, that was also a super fun fucking stream as my computer melted down.
You had a good time playing the game though.
That was fun as fuck.
It
Yeah,
was interestingly bizarre.
yeah,
Like I think if we had had just a little bit more of a a finger on how to get that fucking thing to run properly.
yeah. Um, I really haven't really not much else has gone on, to be honest. Moving closer to doing surgery on my jaw. I think I've said that before. Um, it's slated for the end of June as we stand currently. So, and I'll probably be out for about 2 weeks out of commission. I don't know how the fuck that's gonna work with this. I don't know how it's gonna work with work. I don't know how anything's gonna work out, but we'll figure it out as we go. Um, but everything's good. Life's good. Enjoying playing games and absolutely dreading the moment that they rip my face apart to put it back together. So, but we'll deal with that bridge when we get there, or we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't fucking know. I'm not smart. I'm not literate. I don't even know if that's a word. I think it is, because I know illiterate's a word. So literate must be a word.
Literate is an absolute word, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So let's move forward, though. We appreciate y'all for hanging out with us tonight. Episode 94 of the Thought Patrol podcast. Getting that much closer to 100. The centennial. Be excited to see, need to think of something to do for that 100th episode. Because we've done a lot of the big things already. Like for our 1 year anniversary, we did like the Who Are We? We had all the hosts talk about themselves and their aspirations and like what makes them up mentally and stuff like that, which was an awesome episode. I enjoyed that episode a lot. It wasn't all the hosts, but it was the main ones. Caitlyn was there. I think it's you, me, and Caitlyn, right? Pretty sure. Something like that. But so we'll figure something out. I would love for the 2 year anniversary to do another 12-hour stream. Because when me and Antony did that for the 1 year anniversary, that was fucking so much fun. So much fun, the 12-hour stream. So I'm definitely going to plan on doing something like that again. Hopefully we could have more people hopping in and out. Maybe try and get it on a weekend and see if I could just get the day off or something like that. I don't know. But I definitely plan on doing that again and just kind of hanging out with everybody to celebrate the 2 years. It's crazy we've been doing this for 2 years already. But so that's about it. I'm glad that everyone was able to tune in and listen to us in our ramblings. We appreciate it. We're going to move on to our housekeeping section real quick. We got a few things we do around here if you want to stay connected. We do stream on Twitch, like I said earlier. That's twitch.tv/Thought Patrol. You can also check out our Discord, where you can hang out with the community and the hosts and just kind of shoot the shit, talk, drop a dank meme or two. We'd appreciate it. Actually deal active currency in memes. So if you're looking to get a favor from the host, you need to probably supply me about 4 to 5 high quality memes, and then we'll move on from there and go into discussion about what needs to be done. But they have to be high quality. They have to go through our quality control center, make sure that they are legitimate memes and things of the like. So
none of that Facebook style shit, bitches.
Yeah, if I see a single Facebook meme, you will be banned from the Discord server. You have my word. So don't bring any of that shit in there. I don't want to see anything with a minion on it. Even if it's ironic, I don't want to see it. Because you are bringing vile emotions into my head with that content, and I don't appreciate that. So if you're going to sit there and attack me in my Discord, you're going to get your ass banned. I don't want to see a single fucking minion on my Discord. See, and now that we've said it, it's going to happen. And someone's going to pay the price. Someone will get banned. You have my word. I will ban you. It might not be permanently, but you will be removed from the server. Oh my goodness. What else? If you're checking us out on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment below what we're talking about, what you think about the YouTube drama, what you think about the video game drama, anything like that. Let us know. We'd love the communication between the viewers and the hosts. It's our favorite part of doing all this. So we'd love to hear from you. Also, while you're there, feel free to subscribe. Get our content. Comes out every Tuesday, 8 a.m. If things go well, but it usually is on Tuesday. That'll be when the episode comes out. You can subscribe either on YouTube, pretty much any respectful streaming service, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcast, all those places. We're pretty much everywhere we can get our grimy little hands, so you can listen to our beautiful voices, whatever works for you guys. Also, we have a Twitter at ThoughtPatrolPD. Get announcements from us. Keep up to date with what's going on around here. Also, you can check out our Facebook, Thought Patrol Podcast, and our sister Facebook page, The Streaming Geek, for reviews on pretty much anything that's streamable content. Get the thoughts on what's going on with that stuff. Also, finally, iTunes reviews. If you want to help us out, have us show up higher and higher in the algorithms, get more ears to the show, feel free to leave a review on iTunes. Let us know what you think. It could be 1 star, 3 stars, 5 stars, whatever you think we deserve as a podcast. We just, at this point, we're just looking for feedback, see what we can do to make the show better for the people that are tuning in. Excuse me. So, with all out of the way, let's move forward. We got a mailbag question. Our boy Lark coming in. He's been pretty consistent with the questions. We appreciate it, dude. Love getting questions from the community to discuss for a bit. So he says, Overcooked is free on PSN this month, so I picked it up, and my wife and I are having so much fun playing it together. She can't wait for the kids to go to bed so we can play. What games other than Final Fantasy XIV have hooked you and your friends? The first thing that comes to mind within the group that I'm actively in, friends group, would be Destiny. Obviously, we've talked about that a few times on the show. We actually have a whole episode dedicated to like our multiplayer memories. We talked a lot. We talked much more into that. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely go back and check that out. I think it was something like that, our multiplayer memories or best multiplayer moment, something like that. But Destiny obviously is, because we had everyone doing Destiny for the most part, which was actually kind of a hindrance, because we always had more people in the fucking 3-player limit. So we were constantly having to split up and do things as groups. I mean, we're all in the same party, but until we actually got and sat down to do a raid, which brought its own problems, a lot of the time we were broken up and just kind of talking to each other in party chat. Another thing,
still worth it.
Yeah, another thing that for me that comes to mind is the Halo 3 days. Fucking that again, it was the same thing. Everyone was doing it. All of our friends group was playing Halo. So like you'd have it where it was like pretty much every night of the week you'd have like 6 or 7 people on, and we were all playing Halo in the party chat for Xbox. And Halo 3 had just so much. It could go from doing custom games, maybe playing a round or two of Jenga or Smear the Queer or something along those lines, Cops and Robbers, and just hanging out in customs, or going into like a ranked playlist and playing ranked. Well, and if we feel more competitive that night, trying to build something in Forge, or like make a naked lady out of weapons or something, and try and get the screenshot on the community board, or just there's so much to do in Halo that constantly brought us back. That it was just all we did. So it was always nice coming home, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this. But you come home from school, and you sit down either with a sibling or friends online. Or you just come home from work and you do the same thing, and you always have this like set group of people on, and you just hop into comms and everyone's just talking and hanging out and just playing games and shit like that. And I love just the fact of people with everyone talking. So even if we're not playing the same game, unless it really requires you to listen, like Siege or something, I just love having everyone in the call together talking. Like you'd have people fucking off doing like Minecraft or whatever you want, and then another group playing Halo, but just everyone communicating and hanging out with each other. That was like I like that, which is one reason I like Discord too, because like it's so available to everything. So you can have people doing it, you just widen the bubble even further. So like Nick, which is one of our friends in our group, who previously we wouldn't have been able to talk to because he plays primarily on PC, he can, even if we are on PS4 doing something now, just because Discord's available on both platforms. Or it's not on PS4, but it's on mobile. So I just love that factor. But definitely the two big things that come to mind for me is Destiny 1 Halo 3. I even had it where my next door neighbor, Christian, he would come over early in the morning, like an hour early before school, even before the bus came for school, and we would sit down and play Halo. We'd play Halo for a whole fucking hour. My parents would be asleep, and we would just both sit. I had these really ugly ass, super uncomfortable green rocking chairs and this huge ass, really awful fat ass TV that I plugged the coaxial, not coaxial, the AV cables into, the red, white, and yellow. And we just sit there and play like Capture the Flag and Halo 3 split screen for like an hour and then go to school. And we did it every day for like 2 years. That was just something we looked forward to doing in the morning. Even got to the area where sometimes we get a little bit too into it and we missed the bus like twice, I think, over the course of that time. So I'd have to find a way to tell my mother that I somehow missed the bus and shit like that. So that was its own problem. But those two things definitely come to mind. Shawn, do you have anything outside of like that you did with friends that comes to mind?
Well, largely, like I did a lot of Gears and Halo, Halo 2 and Halo 3 at a friend's house, and sometimes we get like three of us together, four of us together,
That's the
shifting
shit,
off.
bro.
We took, we ran a bunch of console LAN parties with Gears and Halo and a handful of other shooters,
That's also fun.
which was a lot of fun.
Like I got as good as online is for making it easy. There's something special about having everyone in the same room. So I definitely feel that.
Yeah, we put like all brought TVs, and we put like four squads in each room, like four consoles on each room, and then connected them all over the LAN network. It was pretty fantastic. I also did that. I think I mentioned this once in a stream before, but when I was in for Windows NT training, back when Windows NT was a thing, when I worked at this tech support firm, which is a giant hellhole, but I had some good memories there. Instead of training on NT, because we were all fairly competent technicians, we didn't really need extra time on NT. We just needed the basics. So we covered the basics and like a half an hour of the differences, and then we'd jump back into it every so often when somebody thought of a question. But for the rest of the week, all we did was play Unreal Tournament.
Damn.
in Windows NT training. It was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that reminds me.
Had a lot of fun with Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, I had a class like that. It was a engineering course that I took in high school, and they had like these cubicles of computers set up. There's this one kid that had a cracked version of Halo Combat Evolved, and our teacher would always get so pissed off because he'd go around wiping all the computers, but then just the flash drive would reemerge. And then the cracked version, before you knew it, within the day, every computer was had the fucking cracked version of Combat Evolved back on it. And then so we'd have just like 12, 18 people all joining up, and then you could make your own names. You always have like Hitler's Queef or Granny Panties joining in, and everyone just like fucking around and just annihilating each other in Halo Combat Evolved. It reminds me of that.
We did that with Doom 2 as well when Doom 2 came out, and I was very young, but we had like the Doom games were some of the most prolifically installed games of all time, because back then shareware was like a dominant thing, so it was just everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest memories I have are the Gears games with friends, the Halo games with friends, especially because there was co-op in it. And I also had some really great times playing the multiplayer in Conquer's Bad Fur Day, GoldenEye,
Okay.
a lot of good times
I
there.
remember that, yeah.
Mario Kart, some fantastic times, memories with Mario Kart with various groups of friends growing up. Smash Brothers, um, and bits here and there, like playing Super Mario 3 co-op, or which you bounce back and forth in that one, or Super Mario Brothers Wii U. I think my fondest co-op memories, to be honest, are the moments that were either couch co-op or felt like couch co-op.
Yeah.
You know, when we play, especially our group, when we play, it really kind of feels like we're sitting on a couch together or we're in a room together. Like we have this charisma where we became friends fairly quickly. And I remember talking to you one night, and it's not often that we get super serious, but we had a slightly serious conversation where I was remarking on how we had become good friends
Then we
and
just
how it
sucked each
puzzled
other's
me
dicks dry right
yeah.
there.
Like I didn't notice when it happened. It was like Hector brought me in to play with you guys. I don't remember how you guys met, but Hector came in, and Hector and I got introduced to the Tylers. I got introduced to Antony, you, John, and it just seemed like almost immediately we were just a squad,
Yeah, it was it
and that
was
was just
it was a
there.
clashing of groups because and I think the biggest link was like Jonathan and Tyler, the Tyler that we not the Tyler that's been on the show, but a different Tyler, because we played Halo with him back in the day, and I never like knew who in relation to the rest of us who exactly knew him, but Jonathan knew him, and I think they were just Xbox buddies, and then Tyler eventually introduced me to Hector when we were playing Division, and then eventually you, Nick, and Perry all came from that same group because you all just knew each other, and it was just like a big old gay orgy of us coming together and just playing games together. And then, which I think the highest point of that was probably again the Destiny days, having a full group for the most part doing a raid and everyone fucking being infuriated with each other because we're doing stupid
Mhm.
shit and fucking up the runs. Um, yeah, it is weird if you ever like you always go back to think like exactly you can never I have difficulty with it at least with my memory is very selective like I you can name an anime and I'll be able to recall you the plot of it within the snap of a finger, but then you asked me what I had for breakfast 3 days ago and I you could have me at gunpoint and I would not be able to give you an answer. um and sometimes I'll think back like what was that moment where like either first meeting or friendship established. The kind of person that I am, it doesn't take very long for me to consider someone a friend. Like we can just have a good conversation once. I'll be like, oh yeah, that person's my friend. I could call him my friend, and then it will just continue further. And then whatever, you're a friend now. You're part of the group. Welcome. Blah blah blah. But it's definitely like I don't remember the moment, like what it was, how it happened. I don't fucking remember how we met. I don't at all. But I just remember it's almost like the thing. It's like it almost feels like it's just been that way since jump, kind of thing. So,
Yeah. I just remember when I was meeting up with you guys at Universal, it was going to be the first time seeing everybody in person, and I was curious if it was going to be like cool or awkward or what. And within like 5 minutes, it was as if we had never not known
yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
like
So
it wasn't ever like there wasn't a time before it, kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm thinking, fuck. Um, shit. Is there any other
Hmm.
things that induce that nostalgic? I always loved the early Mario's too. Me and
Yeah.
Caitlyn used to go fucking ham on early Mario's, even the ones that weren't like Sunshine. We played together, so we'd take turns every time one of us died, and we just and it was funny because I was to a degree better than her at games just because I was older, so I had a better retention of like what was going on. So like I'd play for a decently long time before I would die, and she'd just sit there on the couch all happy and giddy, waiting for her turn. She'd get to her turn, and then she'd play for like 10 minutes, and something would happen, and she'd fuck up and die. And I'd always feel so bad, so I'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, you just take another life." I've literally just played for like an hour and a half, and you've been waiting there so patiently. I feel so bad. So take another life. No, definitely take your time. And she just melt all of our lives away. So it was a
Hmm.
gift and a curse. But we played a lot of the single player Mario games together. Pokemon was like that, where it was more of us sharing our stories with each other. Like, oh, because we would both have like when the DS Lite came out, we both had our own DS, and sat down and be like, oh, dude, did you catch that Pokemon? Or what's your party look like? And then every once in a while, we would do like we didn't battle each other often, because I think in the earlier DSs you needed like a link cable still. I don't think they had like interconnectivity to each other, or I don't
No, they
remember.
did.
Did
They were
they?
able to connect.
We never fucking
Yeah.
did it. I don't remember why. The first time I remember us actively doing something together in Pokemon was in Diamond and Pearl. They had an element of the game where you can connect to each other. I remember us doing it then, so maybe we just didn't do it for whatever reason. But there's like this underground element to the game where you can go down into this tunnel system and dig for fossils, and you would get stuff, and you could you can trade them into an NPC, and you'd get items. But that was multiplayer, so you can run around and dig and do digging together and shit. And that was like it was such a simple thing. The interactivity, and there was no co-op to it. It was just you saw the person running around, and something about that was like mind blowing to me. And ever since then, I've wanted a Pokemon MMO game, but and that was just like mind blowing to me. And the fact that we were actually able to stand next to each other and run around, and you literally couldn't do anything else besides dig. You just saw the other person. But something about that, we did that for fucking hours on end. We used to have like a treehouse thing in the backyard before it got destroyed by one of the hurricanes, and we'd go up in there at night, and we'd sit in, and we'd have this little tarp that we'd hang out, and then we'd have a light, and we'd just sit there both on our DSs, playing games next to each other. We also like to build like little forts outside as well. Like I remember we dragged something out there. I think it was a really shitty old TV that we got an extension cord, and we watched like a movie or something outside. I think it was like one of the Disney films. I don't know why. It gave you that feeling of camping without the fact that you're in the middle of the forest, and if something happens, then you just kind of have to deal with it. When we had a problem, we just walked inside and brought everything inside. But it was kind of like that idea. So DSs were big too. Although Caitlyn always liked to break hers. Stupid shit. She left one outside, got rained on, and bleached to shit, so that didn't work. She had left one in, you know how cruises have those like folding beds?
Yeah.
In like the cheaper rooms. She had left it in there, and when the maid came to clean up, she had pushed up the bed, and it literally just snapped the DS the other way, like folds on itself. You take it to the straight line and just push it to the other way and fold it a sandwich in the other direction, and just completely destroyed her DS. But I can't blame her because I've done stupid shit. Like I got like a silver PSP, and it had like Daxter on it, which is a really good game. I remember being super fond of Daxter, even though it had Jack. It nowhere near it. But it still had like the charm of the Jack and Daxter series. I had that PSP for fucking 2 weeks, dead ass. We used to go to like a Greek Orthodox church because my grandparents are Greek in their lineage. Well, they're Albanian, but the church is Greek, so it's like half and half. But I was in the bathroom playing a game of SOCOM while I was shitting, and I was done. So I put the PSP in my pocket. That was mistake numero uno, right? Putting the PSP in my pocket, and I went to wipe. Clean my fresh kid ass with the thing towel, threw in the toilet, and I had my pants down at the bottom with the PSP in the pocket. I go to lift up my pants as I stand up, and I hear the sound of something really heavy entering the toilet bowl, just like a huge ass plop, splashing water, and my heart sunk. And I remember like this moment to this day of me. I didn't want to look. I was afraid. I didn't flush yet either, so it fell into poop, and so there was a lot going on. There's a lot of emotions, because not only was I disgusted the fact I was gonna have to dig my PSP out of poop, I was in denial of accepting the fact that I'd literally just dropped my 2-week-old Christmas present into the fucking toilet. And eventually, after like a good solid 2 minutes, I turn around and look, and I'm like, oh my fucking god. I just dropped my PSP in poo-poo water. How am I going to explain this to my parents? And so I basically never got another one. My sister had an old black one, like the original PSP that she didn't use, so I took that one and used it that way, or used that for the rest of my gaming. Which it wasn't as bright, it wasn't as fast. The battery was shittier, but I was just happy I had a PSP. because I took that shit everywhere. That's how I was introduced to like the Ratchet and Clank series and all that other stuff. Loved that thing. Played Ghost Recon on that. Everything looked like fucking 3 polygons. It was dope. But yeah, that destroyed me. I don't even know how we got to this. Oh, because we're talking about the DS, and then we got to the PSP. Also, I played my first. I got in trouble playing Metal Gear. It was like a Metal Gear tactical game kind of thing. It wasn't like there's stealth to it, but it was like a tactics game, almost like SOCOM. And you had these cards, and one of the cards had like a particularly naked lady on it. And I was a kid, so I was infatuated by this naked lady card. Right? What are you gonna do? I was a boy. I was growing. She had boobles, and they were there, and they were available. There was no nipple, but hey, it was like, I think it was just like in a bikini or something. I don't fucking remember. But I was like looking through, and I always had it in my deck. I don't remember what it did, but I always had it in my deck. So like while I was doing my tactician work,
That was the first Metal Gear on that game, was the card game.
when I was doing my tactical work, while I was looking through my deck for the important ones, I'd come across the barely naked or barely dressed lady, and I'd be like, I'd just relish in that moment for a slight second, and then move on to the rest of the tactical turn. So every turn, I took a few extra seconds. I just slapped the shit out of the mic boom. Took a few extra seconds to just relish in the booby card. And one time I was doing it in the car while we were going somewhere. My dad was sitting next to me, and he saw the booby card. And they basically took the game from me. And then I think what I did was I downloaded a demo of it, but I don't think I was able to find the booby card again. So there was just no more booby card for young Kyle, and that was basically how that happened. That's probably how I became a weeb. Now that I think about it, that's how we've gotten to that's the domino effect right there. That's where it started. Booby card in Metal Gear Solid, to watching Helpful Fox Senko-san with Shawn at night and being relatively euphoric as we watched that show, because it's practically visual ASMR. But that went way off tangent. I hope you guys like that nostalgia trip. I don't fucking know. Maybe one of you guys dropped the PSP in the fucking toilet at one point. But fuck, dude, we broke in so many things. Man, we broke in so many things. I think the only thing that lasted the longest was I had an iPod that survived most of middle school and most of high school. Because I didn't have a cell phone until after I graduated. My parents never got me one. And I bought one with graduation money. It was the weirdest thing too, because I had one, and then I was gonna give it to my sister because I only had it for a few months, because then I was going off to boot camp because it was after I graduated, and I was home for about a year, training and doing shit, getting ready. So then I passed the phone on to her, and Shawn, I shit you not, the moment I get back from boot camp, like 2.5 months later, every single person in the fucking family has a smartphone. And I'm like, what the fuck happened while I was gone? Like, Caitlyn probably saw the majesty of it, because I had like it was an Android. It was like the Active, the one that was built to bounce around, and it was waterproof. Like the 4 or something, I don't know. I gave it to her. It was like a camo. I love that phone. It was awesome. And she probably preached his praises to everyone else. And then before we know it, the whole fucking family's got smartphones. So that was crazy. I was like, what the fuck? How the hell? So.
Fucking kids now are listening to this. Are like, what? Your entire family didn't have smartphones?
Yeah. I came out of the womb with a smartphone. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? I came out of the womb with a a Netflix subscription in hand.
I remember when there were no cell phones that were easily obtainable. Then the ones that did had contracts and people. They were like car phones and shit.
Yeah.
And then when cell phones came out, at first it was like the Nokias and shit, and they weren't
BlackBerry.
smartphones. Yeah, and I was like, I just wasn't interested. I was like, yeah, I mean, I could have one. But, I have
I could also not be in
something
debt.
like 700 phone numbers memorized, and I just need a quarter, and the contracts are confusing, and this is before things got simplified a lot
Yeah.
and then recomplicated later. But for a while there, when I actually got into, like, when it finally came time, my buddies got tired of not being able to instantly reach me. And when you know a lot of people and you are an upwardly socially mobile person, people just always decide to have need of you. And I was extremely social at the time. I had like literally hundreds of people that I hung out with. So they got kind of sick of that, and one of my friends just got tired of not being able to reach me. And then one Christmas, I've got like a fucking AT&T card phone as my fucking Christmas present.
Lit.
And I barely used the minutes that were on there at first until everyone figured out I had a phone. Then I had to get more minutes, and then I had to get more minutes, and then I had to get more minutes, and then finally I was like, well, this is starting to get expensive. So then I went and got a contract with T-Mobile and did the whole T-Mobile thing for a while, and then I switched from T-Mobile to Sprint because of the chick I was dating at the time, and we did like a family plan. Never do that. Never do that.
Unless your family's doing it and you're getting your phone service for free, because that's what I'm under right now.
Yeah, but I mean, don't do it. Don't ever get a family plan with somebody you're dating. It's a terrible idea. But I ended up doing that several times before I learned the lesson. But yeah, and I was with Sprint for a while, then I jumped back from Sprint back to T-Mobile, and then I jumped from T-Mobile to Verizon, then I went back to T-Mobile, and now I'm just gonna fucking stay with T-Mobile because out of all of them, they're the least scummy so far.
Yeah, we've been with AT&T.
And I don't even know how we got on that subject. Yay, lyrics!
We've been with AT&T since Jump. We went to Sprint for a bit, and something with their towers, like we were kept dropping, we were losing signal like immensely bad. Like it was fucking awful. So we went back to AT&T. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Let's move forward. Thank you for the question, Lark, and let us know what you guys think. Do you have a game that comes to mind when you think about just something that you did with a shitload of friends, like something that you can sit down and do with a bunch of people? League was kind of like that for me, although a lot of League I played by myself to a degree, which blows my mind that I played that game for like 4 years without, like, literally by myself. Like that fucking, I mean, I had Christian on every once in a while, but for the most part, it was solo. All right. Let us know what you guys fucking destroyed with the friend group. I'm sure a lot of people will be kind of close, like early Destiny, early Halo, like early FPSs on PC, stuff like that. Those are definitely some good times to be had. So I'm going to move forward. We really appreciate the question, Lark. If you guys want to send us a question, you can do it. You do it a few ways. Discord has a mailbag section. That's the easiest way to get the question on the podcast. Twitter, you could do the hashtag TP mailbag. You could send me a fucking private message on Facebook, like oh blah blah blah, or you can do it to our email thoughtpatrolcast@gmail.com, and all those links will be below. If you forget any of them, just look in the description. We got everything there. We'd definitely appreciate hearing anything. We literally just had a nostalgia trip, fucking practically unprovoked. Like we really didn't have to go that far. So we'll talk about fucking anything, bro. Ask me what my favorite pie flavor is, and I'll let you know that pie is for fucking degenerates, and it's all about cake. So move forward. Box office tops. We didn't do this last week because we had a more of a chill episode.
Get you.
Number one is still actually Endgame. Just fucking barely. It's about 5 million that's ahead. I know it recently passed Titanic in how fast it's made its money, but it's at $2.5 billion. So it's
sad that Titanic's actually a better movie. I don't even like that movie.
But it's on.
I actually like parts of Endgame, but Titanic overall is just a better, like it's a superiorly constructed movie.
Yeah, it's quickly catching up to Avatar, and for domestic gross, the highest in the U.S. is actually Star Wars: Force Awakens. It's a little bit above Avatar, which is interesting.
That's depressing. I changed my mind. I want Endgame to dethrone that.
Yeah. So
I really wish people would wake up and expect more from Marvel. I know I'm not saying deeper. I'm just saying better.
That movie had a $356 million budget. That's insane. Moving forward, we got Detective Pikachu, which I've heard is pretty good. Sitting at a total of 58 million total, with a worldwide of 170 million. Sitting on a budget of 150 million. That's a lot. That's pretty crazy. Probably, I wonder what that would be. Like licensing? Probably had to pay Nintendo a shitload of money because it's Warner Brothers' studio.
Well, you know, Nintendo doesn't actually own Pokemon. I didn't know that.
Oh, they don't?
The Pokemon company owns Pokemon. Nintendo's partnered with them.
Gotcha. I wonder how Game Freak comes into play with that because they designed the games. No idea. Number 3, we have The Hustle, which is that comedy movie with that fat chick. That's all I know about it. Pulled 13 million for the weekend. At number 4, we got The Intruder, 2019. I don't know what this is.
No idea.
No idea. Made 21 million. Sitting at a total of 8 million, or 20 million with an 8 million budget. And at number 5, we have Long Shot, pulling 6 million for the weekend. That's that something about, like, it's Seth Rogen, who's my...
I want to see that.
He's my double. What does he do? He accidentally masturbates on, like, live TV or some shit? Was it something like that?
No, he's his best friend ends up running for president. Like, his best friend is his chick, and she goes into politics, and they just stay best friends. But unlike real life, where all politicians are dirtbags, like, she's a good person, and she's genuine, and she ends up winning president. So his best friend is the president of the United States, who again isn't a scumbag. That's the part of the movie that really suspends reality. And they end up falling in love or whatever. But he's a normal person like us, and she's trying to be president material, and that's where the laughs come from.
Gotcha. I don't know how I
give it like a.
I don't know how the fuck I thought
guys can get.
How did I come with that other thought of the plot? I have no idea.
Masturbates on something? I don't know.
It was like...
sincerely doubt Charlize Theron is going to be in a movie where he masturbates on her.
Okay. Well, that's the box office tops. Tolkien came out, pulled 2 million. The movie looks interesting.
I'm curious, but I'm not eager to see it.
Something called fucking Palms came out. I have no idea what this is. It's a comedy. It looks like it's about cheerleaders. I don't fucking know. Never even heard of it. And that's about it. Captain Marvel's in 10th place. No idea why. Shazam's still making money. Made $1 million for the weekend. That's pretty cool. So that's about it for box office tops. So we're gonna move forward. Oh, I didn't look up what's coming out. Rage 2 drops in actually the day this comes out. It should be out, the 14th. So
don't care.
I've heard good things about it. A lot of people say it plays like Doom and Mad Max, and I love Doom. Like, it was fucking phenomenal, or the reboot of it. So that's probably the biggest sale that it has, like, for me.
Is it technically a reboot? Because they kind of made it a soft reboot, because it seems like it actually takes place after the original conflict.
No, I'm talking about Doom. Doom is the reboot. Rage 2 is a straight... I don't know.
No, I'm talking about Doom. Doom doesn't take into effect the Xbox One, because the Xbox One, while not a bad game, just wasn't up to Doom's standards. But there was the Dooms that came before, and the new Doom game takes place after those. Like,
it's much more
at the end of the last official Doom before the Xbox One, he was left in hell.
Yeah, I know.
And this new one picks up after that.
Yeah,
so it actually is kind of a sequel.
It's a soft reboot would fit it. Yeah, you're right, because they're not changing any chronological happenings besides a few, obviously, but it still does take place after was it Doom 2 where he was left in hell?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it does take place after that. So they're just like, Doom 3.
It's just a new play style.
That game kind of, we're just going to push it off kind of thing. So
it wasn't a bad game.
It wasn't a Doom game. No, yeah. It wasn't Doom, like, in any way, shape, or form. They went for, like, a heavy horror tinge, and, I mean, the only thing that made it Doom is that you got different weapons. That's about it. There was no speed to the movement. Very slow, and...
It drags for a while. The enemy variety was not there.
Yeah, it had this weird, like, potato-y look to it.
Well, that's just the graphics of the time, man.
I don't know, like, some 360 games look pretty.
It wasn't bad. I like to think of it as like a spin-off.
Wait, let me see. Like, Doom 3, when did this fucking game come out? What year? Doom 3 release date. So I want to see other games of the year and see what we have to compare it to. 2004. Games that came out in 2004. Let's see.
It really felt like they had a brand new lighting engine for it that was really revolutionary at the time. I remember that.
Bro. Fable. The first Fable. GTA San Andreas. Halo 2. Blood Rain 2. Leisure Suit Larry. Silent Hill 4. Spider-Man 2. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Come on now. We had some heavy runners. Jak 3 actually came out. Holy shit. Prince of Persia. Ace Combat 5. Okay, I'm just reading off things. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron. God, there's so many.
He just was randomly rated.
I'm reading games that came out in 2004, so we have a comparison. But like Jak 3 looked really good for its time. Halo 2 looked really good for its time. I don't know, something about it looks like potatoey. What's it called? Doom 3.
It kind of followed that trend that was going at the time. And it started with computer games where you'd have like some story stuff in the beginning and you'd talk to people and open doors and activate terminals, and it was just like an interacting with the environment, and they tried to flesh it out more rather than it just being pure action. They had all this exposition, you met characters, you got to know characters, like, and then there was the horror element where they're building up the tension and shit.
Yeah.
It was just a different kind of game. Like if you had named it something else, I don't think the Doom fans would have had problem with
No, yeah, because they wanted to give it a fuck. All right.
No.
So that's about it. There's really nothing else coming out this week. That's it. Rage 2. I'm interested. They have a sale going on Green Man Gaming. We could get it for like $44, which is a really good price for something that's just coming out. So I might do that. But I don't think it's like a $60 game. I don't know. I've heard it's fun.
Sucked.
It did suck. So, but it looks like they're doing a lot to make it different, which is nice. And this is post Doom reboot. So, and I adored that game. It's fucking fantastic. If you haven't played it, you are missing out. It's great. So we're gonna move forward to our news. We have someone let Bruce in. He got what he wanted after an hour of whining at the door. He's committed, I'll give you that. And now he's in here plotting I was going to ruin the episode. Right, Bruce? Damn well, he looked at me.
You leave Bruce alone. Bruce is a Thought Patrol member, just like you are.
Got a point. He's been on the podcast more than our other hosts. So what can I say? Might as well make him an official one. So we got some news articles real quick. We're gonna run through just some things I found slightly interesting. They showed off a new Ghost Recon game. It's called Breakpoint, right? Breakpoint? Yeah, Breakpoint. It looks like Wildlands with a more heavy survival focus. I didn't really like Wildlands. I just want another Ghost Recon, like the original Ghost Recon games, the ones that were like tactic shooters where you got like a team and you told them where to go, and there was like stealth and like it was futuristic. Those were fucking badass. I just want something like that, but like co-op. So maybe you can fill your party with your teammates and then have just like levels that you can progress through. I didn't like the whole open world aspect. I felt like it made the game weaker overall. I know a lot of people liked it. It sold incredibly fucking well. So of course you get another one.
I don't know. I thought the environments were boring. What I really loved about Vegas was Vegas had a wide variety of environments. They would wide variety of colors, a wide variety of tactical situations because of the way the arenas were designed, the different combat areas. Like I remember when I played Vegas, because Ghost Recon's the closest game to Vegas that I can think of. When I played Vegas, I remember there was this one part where it took me an hour to play through this one room just because of how much maneuvering and positioning I had to do, because I played it on hard. I didn't play it on realistic where you get shot once, maybe
and
twice,
you're
and you die.
fucking
I played
dead.
it on the next level. I played it on the hardest level, and there was this rock climbing room, and this whole section around that room, and it took me about an hour to work my way up through the floors of the rock climbing room to get to where I needed to be and to carefully take out the guys and use my strategy and my two AI buddies with me. And I loved playing that game in multiplayer with friends, and it was just such a good experience. And I wanted that from Ghost Recon, and it kind of did it, but there was just something I can't put my finger on that just wasn't fun. It was just kind of meh, and I don't know what it was. Like I had a lot of fun playing it with you guys, but I think much like Destiny, I think it was the quality of the company over the quality of the game.
Well, that was
And I'd really like to find a game where it's the quality of both.
if it was Future
You know?
Warrior, which was on, I think that was on PS4, but the ones I played were the original two, Ghost Recon 2, and they were almost like SOCOM in a way. And that was like the first game I actually played with my dad. So I remember we were going through, we had this one mission, it was like at night. There's a lot of sneaking that you had to do because the moment they saw you, everyone would rush to your relative position and literally fucking gun you down like a dirty savage. So you really had to be super fucking careful with everything that you did. And so there was like multiple nights of me and my dad taking turns trying to stealth our way through this fucking game. I think it was the second Ghost Recon, but something about it, I love it was again, it was awesome. I really liked it. I would love to see something like that, but like a heavy cooperative focus multiplayer and not open world.
What was the time to kill like in Ghost Recon? Because in
quick
Vegas, the one thing I noticed in Ghost Recon is they didn't go down quick unless you got a headshot. Like it wasn't a given, and with Vegas, like it was super quick because the whole time the entire emphasis was taking one hit shots. Because if you didn't kill them in that first shot, if you didn't get a headshot or something close enough to where it was terminal, there was a likelihood that you would die because they would notify their buddies or their buddies would figure it out if they were anywhere visually nearby. If the person didn't cry out, then if they cried out, it was over. Like because the moment the enemies were aware of you, you were immediately at a disadvantage, and the game became a lot harder. So, like plotting your shots and planning out your attack was important. That's the whole reason why I've considered getting into that Vision 2, is that Hector said that that's a big part of doing your missions is communicating and figuring out how you're going to approach a target. And even though the stealth element isn't there, which is unfortunate because I like the option of using stealth, especially in a game where ammo conservation becomes important. But I don't know. Yeah, I just haven't seen them come up with something equivalent to like Vegas and Vegas 2 since those games came out. There's just been nothing. And when they made the new version, Rainbow Six, they had the tactics element, but it wasn't going up against an army of terrorists with your best friends or some really good AI buddies and a great choice of loadouts. It was a competitive game, and that's a very different beast.
Yeah.
I really hope that this new Ghost Recon is able to capture, at the very least, that kind of intelligent combat part, because that was the part that really attracted me. If I'm playing a first-person shooter, I'm normally playing it in a fictional setting. I'm a Red Faction kind of guy, so if you're going to give me one that's set in the real world, I want it to be a smart one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. Whoa, where the fuck? Okay, so Rage 2 has a interesting element to it. It's the next article. There's not a lot going on here, but there's basically a Twitch extension that you can get for Rage 2 that allows, if you're playing the game and you're streaming it, your viewer base can actually interact and help you. So if you get downed while you're playing, your chat can actually play a mini game where they will. It's like a little defibrillator mini game that they play on their computer, and it will actually help resurrect you in game. So it will allow you. That's
creative,
and it will and the more people that do it, you can get more health back. And they also have an element.
That doesn't show you the games are moving in a new direction. I don't know what does. That's kind of a really interesting interaction.
They have other games that work in.
That really shows that.
They have other games that work to this degree. There's one called Party Hard, I think, where you have a party. The whole idea is not to have cops, like, you're not to get arrested by cops. So there's this party going on, but what happens is there'll be these random elements that they come up on the top of the screen, and what happens is your Twitch chat will vote for you. So I don't know if they click or type something in chat. I don't know how it works. And then the game will record that information, send it to game. So the games are always different because it's dictated by your chat for the most part. So you're just trying to like survive in this kind of roguelike where you're having curveballs thrown at you all the time because your Twitch chat is either actively trying to fuck you or trying to help you. So there's been things, and that game's a few years old. So there's been things like that kind of seeping in, which I think is cool because it really makes, because the biggest thing about Twitch that makes it so appealing to so many people is that interaction, is being able to sit there and have a conversation. Like, that's not something you can do actively, like with YouTube and stuff. With Twitch, you can sit there and talk to people. They literally have a whole category of Twitch called Just Chatting, where it's literally a dude sitting there just talking to people, and they're just having a conversation. And it's a way of you to connect with someone, although it may be in a weaker sense than you would do out in the real world, quote unquote, normal conversation. You still have a way of making that connection with someone else. And it's really cool. And to see that slowly seeping into video games is also pretty interesting. But there's like another element to it where if you do a race, it will make the AI in game like names of your viewers, like randomly. So like you can do a race with like 8 other people or something. It'll just make them different names for your group. And you can, again, it provides that interactivity for the viewer base, which makes everything overall more appealing for both the person streaming and the people tuning into the stream, which is cool. I for one, I like this, and I think it's cool. And I think as long as it doesn't fully spread into like every game, where it like becomes a cancer to make, like every game has to have this type of element, to the point where it's hurting the game as a whole, then that would be problematic. But for the most part, if it's just silly,
it should be considered very carefully whether it fits.
Yeah, if it's just silly little things like this that promote this kind of interactivity, I'm completely fine with it. Or if it's a whole game built around it, like how Party Hard is. I think also there's one called Cluster Truck, which are like these trucks going around and they're moving fast. And you got to jump from truck to truck without like touching the ground. They had one where your stream can vote on modifiers there too. They had this thing where the devs would actively raid people's streams and they would take control of the game. I have no idea how they fucking did it. They would take control of the streamer's game and have like these super buffs, like lasers flying all over the place and fucking them up and stuff. So
I liked in was it our Resi 6? I think it was. Yeah, it was Resi 6 where you could, when you were playing, like other people could start their game up and just jump into your game.
Oh yeah,
and try and attack you as one of the enemies.
Yeah.
And I thought like that was a really interesting like concept. And that was you. The thing was you always knew, because even though the enemies were really difficult to control, and it was kind of a challenge to take anyone down using one of the enemies. Like in later levels, there were stronger enemies that were harder to kill. But you always knew another player was using the enemy because the enemies would act smarter. They wouldn't go directly at you. They would juke.
Yeah.
And like
you're like, oh shit, that's a person.
Yeah.
They have an element like that.
And it added this element of fear because the AI in Resi is easy to work with. And the challenge is just getting your shots placed well and keeping your, making sure your health is up and so on. It's your typical game challenge. But when you got another person mixed in with this horde coming after you, and you don't know what they're going to do, you don't know what their capabilities are, you don't know when they're going to be there, so you're fighting an army, and at any given time somebody can jump into your game and fuck with you.
Yeah, they have a thing like that in Dying Light too, where when nightfall comes to the game, the zombies that come out at night, they're like super powered. Like they're not even fucking zombies at that point. They're like these weird mutant alien things, and they're super fast. They can jump high. They can parkour along with you, and people can actually invade your game there too and take control of them. So not only are you parkouring around trying to get around from area to area, you have a zombie actively on your ass, like playing cat and mouse, and you're trying to juke them. And it really comes down to the skill of the two people and how good they can navigate the map and how much they've played and how much they're aware of, like, this area has this shortcut or this element. And so like I've had a few people come into my game and try and get me. One dude just fucking massacred me right off the bat, but it was with the first couple hours of playing. But like it's just something about, like, because an AI can prove a challenge, but like you said, it's 100% predictable. It gets to a point where you know how they'll react. But with a human, you're dealing with someone that is actively adapting to the situation like you are, so it just makes everything so much more fucking tense, especially when you know that they're stronger than you. So it really comes down to almost a skill and wits battle between these two people. And I would love to see like two high level players, like one dude being the zombie and one dude being the just the runner, like him actively chasing him down and just seeing how they route their way through the city, getting from point to point.
I think the key thing in a game like that is to not let the player know. Like, to not tell the player who's in the game, that they're being pursued or that somebody's jumped in. Like, if I remember correctly, if you were paying attention, I think sometimes one of the games I remember would tell you that you'd been invaded. And I don't remember if that was Resident Evil or not. I think after a while, and again, I don't recall, but I think there was a slight marker that would show up on a player-controlled enemy. Maybe not, but I think they should keep it to where you're just not aware unless the game mechanic works off of the awareness.
Yeah.
So that you can really be surprised.
Yeah, I think
I tried playing as the monsters like several times, and they're just incredibly difficult to control.
Yeah. Damn. Both excellent games. I love Dying Light. It was really good. I cannot wait to see what they do with 2. I'd like them to keep that element too. Like the nighttime, it was so fucking exhilarating running around at night, knowing you have these terrifyingly agile mutants on your ass. Because they're not aware you're there all the time, so you're just kind of chilling. And when someone joins, they're not necessarily aware of where you are as well, but they kind of get like hints from the horde as they move around and the other zombies, and it kind of like slowly directs you in the area, but you don't get a marker saying like this is where the guy is, kind of thing. So it's just, for both sides, it's just a cool event, and I thought that game was awesome. It was really good. Sweet. Our next article, apparently Bethesda has been having problems with a plagiarism accusation. They had released a tabletop game, Elsewhere, to promote their new to promote the new expansion coming to their MMO. And apparently the internet kind of set them on fire because the game shares a lot of similarities with a 2016 Dungeons and Dragons adventure called The Black Road, written by Paige Lightman and Ben Heisler. Very similar. In fact, they actually had some reports coming that the adventure citing work from Bethesda Netherlands was criticized and even gained attention from Lightman herself, who had written, again, The Black Road. They posted a thread highlighting the similarities between the texts, and Bethesda actually pulled the scenario and to reinvestigate, basically. So it's just actually, in the thing that I had stumbled across, they had a comparison. So there's 2 scenarios pulled. One's pulled from the Black Road, one's pulled from Elsewhere, and you can hear, besides some wording here and there, they're almost identical. So I'll read. So the first one is from The Black Road, the D&D thing. It says, "There's nothing like the desert to make people feel small and insignificant. In every direction, huge dunes roll across the landscape, and an even bigger sky looms above. The oasis of Verulrithil, I don't know, is a motley collection of sun-bleached tents in a vast Anaruk desert." And then this is from Elsewhere. It says, nothing beats the desert to make people feel small and unimportant. In every direction, enormous dunes roll across the landscape, and an even larger empty air skies above it. The oasis on the border between Cyrodiil and Elsewhere is a colorful collection of sun-drenched tents in a vast desert of Elsewhere. Can I help you? What the fuck? Bruce is sitting on his bed like having a panic attack. What's wrong with you, bro? There's nothing going on. Chill out. So, as you can tell, it's basically that meme. It's like, take my homework, but don't make it look like you copied it, kind of. It's literally that, word for word. So they've had issues with this before. In 2016, Fallout New Vegas modder had claimed that Bethesda had lifted their content for a scenario in the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. So the tabletop was supposed to launch on June 4th, or was the expansion's launching on June 4th with the thing that was supposed to launch with it, but they pulled it. So they're investigating again. Plagiarism is not good, you guys. You don't want to be stealing other people's work, especially if you're trying to sell it. That gets you in a shitload of legal trouble. Bethesda's been all over the place recently, man. With the debacle that was 76 and dealing with the recent Rage 2 fiasco, which isn't that large. It's just, it was basically someone talked about why Rage 2's marketing is dog shit, but he wasn't negative about it in any way, shape, or form. And then the Rage 2 Twitter basically is like, it was like a child, like the way they responded to it. Just stupid shit. Again, like they should really be a little bit more attentive to who they have managing these social media teams, so they don't have people, especially when your game's right around launch, you don't want to be causing strife. Again, unless, because strife isn't always bad. Bruce, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. He wants to go outside for some reason. So give me a second. Shawn, what do you think about fucking Bethesda stealing from Dungeons and Dragons? I don't know.
I've met Dungeons and Dragons authors before. The same guys that write the books are oftentimes the ones that write the campaign modules, and they put a lot of work into it, a lot of time, because these are actual authors. They're established authors. And when you write a book, that's a massive amount of your time. So to rip somebody's writing off is nigh unforgivable. You really can't be doing that, and you can't expect to do that and not get caught, because it's not like these are small-time writers. They know their shit. They know what the industry is like. They know there are people out there that try and steal from D&D all the time. So, I mean, I'm not even remotely surprised that they got caught or that these idiots tried to do that. I
Yeah,
think Bethesda needs to stop making games for a year and completely fix their fucking
and
company,
just like
because
sit
that
down.
dipshit that is their talking spot, the one
Todd
that
Howard?
I can't fucking remember his name. Yeah, Todd Howard needs to fucking find a new
16
job.
times the detail. Four
Yeah, this
times the
guy is
size
an
of Fallout
asshole. His
4.
reactions are asshole reactions, and Bethesda is destroying themselves. And the sad part is no one's helping them do it. They're doing it to themselves. They're
Yeah.
just garbage,
Well,
and it's like they don't get a pass. I don't understand
no, they don't,
how they've
because
survived this long.
they've had so many launches go in much better routes, and it seems like, to a degree, it's like, well, greed is always there, but it feels like if it goes unchecked, it gets to a point where people start to realize it a lot more, because you can feel the dick slide into your butt. You can feel yourself getting fucked. Before it was maybe like a straw or like a toothpick sliding into your ass, but now you got a full on dick
No, I
sliding
just
in.
think before they supported the modding scene. They allowed people to mod, so they would release a slightly above average or above average game, but not a great game, and the modders would turn it into a great game. And you have this legion of fans who just take everything that they feed out because they were doing something different. Up until Skyrim and Fable and Fallout 3 was the one that went 3D. Up until those games
Yeah,
popped
Fallout
out,
3 was the one that went
the
3D.
American RPG scene was just nearly non-existent. You had a bunch of old school, because let's let me back up a moment. There's been an American RPG scene for a long time, but they were like the old Secret of the Silver Blades trilogy, 80s, early 90s, very detailed, very wordy, very complicated, Magic Candle and shit like that, computer games. They were not easy to get into. They had a very high, very steep learning curve, and they were very old school in terms of how they told their stories and how they were arranged and how they played. They were not user friendly like JRPGs have always been. No matter how deep your system got in a JRPG, you could get into it. But the thing about a JRPG is they work with the weeb friendly. They don't work so well with people who aren't into that scene. So for people who just don't dig on Japanese culture, anime, manga, that kind of thing, where they don't dig on the JRPG scene, which is very much linked to all that, they didn't have a source to pull from, something they could enjoy. So when you came out with the old Fallout games and the Baldur's Gate games and stuff like that, here we have American RPGs. Uh, the they just recently did one that had a lot of respect that was top down. I can't remember what it was called. I think it started with a T, but uh, those games fit that audience. And when it went 3D, you were able to expand the audience even farther when you had a three-dimensional fleshed out world. And now you're pulling in people that never even knew they would like a game like that.
Yeah.
And so these people are so happy just to get that, to have something that kind of sucks them in that way, that I think they were willing to forgive a lot. But it's hit a point now where you really can't let them slide anymore. Like you can't accept the fact that they're releasing glitchy, buggy games and you're just like, it's okay, they'll fix it after, and what they don't fix, the modding community will. Like, you need a game that is ideal when it comes out. And modders just make it fun by adding in a bunch of zany shit. That's the way it used to work.
And a nude mod. Come on now.
Yeah, nude mods, alien mods, whatever, you know.
Speaking of mods,
and it's good that they support the modding scene, but you can't rely on the modding scene to fix a game you could have fixed. And it's been that way every single time. And every time people have let it slide because the modders are going to come in and fix it. But you can't let them do that anymore. It's fucking gross and it's disrespectful and it's got to stop.
Speaking of mods, there is an anime mod in Fallout 4. And it makes your character look like a 3D. It actually looks fantastic. Like, I'm surprised how well it looks. The only problem is it does it to like your companions, but it will not do it to all the NPCs. So you have Kawaii-chan in the corner with her big eyes and anime face, and then you have a fucking ugly ass ghoul right next to her, and it's a little off-putting. Like, if it was just your character, it'd make a little bit more sense. But the fact it's like you and then your companion, and then you go to talk to a farmer who's like missing a leg or some shit because a deathclaw ate it, and you're just like, oh, this is kind of clashing here. But like the mod itself is really good. Like, eyebrows move, the hair moves. It feels like someone put a lot of fucking work into it, and it looks really good. I don't know, it fits into the aesthetic of the character well. Like, there's no like blending issues with the neck coming up to the head. Everything looks really nice.
Too bad they couldn't work it so that it applied to the entire game.
Yeah, that'd be fucking crazy. But you'd probably have to rework, because like for that one, you just have to rework the player models, like the ones that are available for customization, and then go from there. But like to do every single NPC in the game, that would be fucking absurd. So you have to rework all of those assets. But yeah, so that's that. Hopefully they get some damage control going on with this plagiarism accusation, and they don't either don't release the thing or rework it, but like that was pretty word for word. Like, you can tell that was definitely copied. That's not a coincidence there. I have one more news article, and we'll talk a little bit about the YouTube drama. So something happened. Borderlands 3 has had a lot of good and a lot of bad surrounding it in terms of news.
I have been following it fairly closely.
Most of it surrounding fucking our boy Randy Pitchford. This man should not be, they should just lock him away. And I feel so bad for the people at Gearbox, because I've been in that position where you just have a dumbass boss that represents your company, and he's like the vocal minority, but you have all these people behind the scenes. They're just trying to do their goddamn job, and you have an idiot for a boss just saying stupid shit left and right, and just being overall a dum-dum, and just having to deal with that. And that's
he's not even listening to himself.
No, there was
nothing, and I repeat, nothing wrong was done on the part of the journalist whatsoever. They simply pointed out that what he said wasn't accurate. They didn't even say he lied.
For context, for basically that, because that's not the article we're going to talk about. There's something else that's happened, but there was a journalist had come out and said, well, they had a gameplay reveal. It was a live stream, and Randy Pitchford came out on stage and
basically there were no microtransactions.
Yeah, in his defense, it's not a very good defense, but he did
it's not a defense at all.
He did relate them in regards to premium currencies and loot boxes. But the problem with that I have is that at that point, your company, they're trying to redefine what a microtransaction is to make themselves look better, and that's not good. A microtransaction is anything that you make after purchasing a full game to get additional content in-game that is a few bucks a pop. One could almost say that is a transaction that is micro in nature. Holy shit. But Randy Pitchford basically came out and said there's going to be no microtransactions in the game, and he related it to premium currencies and loot boxes. Now, the problem is microtransaction is more than just premium currencies and loot boxes. And what happens is, apparently, just like Borderlands 2, they're going to have cosmetic microtransactions within Borderlands 3. So journalists came out very
I don't remember any cosmetic things in Borderlands 2. I only remember
Borderlands 2 was
the
full.
additional arenas and dungeons. And
it was full of like heads that you can buy. You can buy characters. Remember the Mechamancer or whatever? You can buy her.
Yeah, but that was a character.
It's still a microtransaction.
That was something they were able to create after the fact.
Yeah. But they did
that
have
was an expansion to actual gameplay.
They did have heads. They did have skins that you can buy in Borderlands 2. 100%.
Is it in the market on PS4 or is that just on computer?
I don't know how it works now, but on launch it was that way, because Randy Pitchford himself came out and said it's going to be like Borderlands 2 in that regard, that there will be heads and skins that you can buy, but they did have them, because I remember playing it when it launched and having stuff that was restricted to that degree. Like, it's like, oh, if you go in the store you can buy this head that has a different design or something like that. It was like that. Maybe as they released the Game of the Year editions, because they weren't needed, they took them out of the store. I have no idea if they'd still be on the PS4 store, but I remember it being that way on launch, to further fund the game. And don't get us wrong, we have no problem with further funding your game through microtransactions. Microtransactions, as long as they're not super invasive, like they're small cosmetic things here and there or something like that, you're not completely barring elements of the game out by purchases, they're not awful in nature. It's just their implementation is what makes them bad, and a lot of companies get too greedy with them. But the problem here is that, again, Randy Pitchford is trying to, and another thing is Randy Pitchford was also backed up by another one of the game directors there at Gearbox, basically stating like, oh yeah, this isn't a microtransaction, these are just cosmetic purchases and stuff like that. And it's like they're trying to redefine what a microtransaction is, and I don't like that, because the moment they try and mess with boundaries, ultimately they're just trying to make themselves look better, because companies are starting to realize that there's negative PR behind microtransaction, to the point where they don't even want to fucking say the word. They want to try and distance themselves from it as much as possible, so people don't like it. People don't like microtransactions. People don't like loot boxes. So these companies aren't going to come out and directly say, oh yeah, like a week before launch, oh yeah, we have microtransactions, because they're going to piss people off and that's going to hurt their sales. So they're trying to distance themselves from that negative PR. And what Gearbox is doing here is they are trying to redefine the borders that make microtransactions to make themselves look better. We're not, and their defense is that because they're not trying to nickel and dime you, they're not trying with the premium currencies, the loot boxes. The elements that they have are not as.
His defense is he doesn't think that one is the other, and by definition, it is. Yeah, that's as simple as it is.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And when they made the announcement shortly thereafter, somebody else who was not on the same bullshit page was interviewed by whatever fucking magazine it was, and they said that there would be skins available just like before. And then they reported, okay, well, at this such and such, he said there were no microtransactions.
There are.
But then this other guy at Gearbox said there is microtransactions. So something's a little off here. And that was basically their only point. They didn't say Pitchford lied. They simply said something wasn't on point. That's not actually accurate. And the guy went on a Twitter rant for fucking days on how everyone hurt his feelings and how none of this was accurate and how everybody's a liar and that they sucked the internet on him, and now everybody's pissed off and misunderstanding, and the entire internet and every Borderlands fan was like, dude, what are you talking about? But they're right.
But the thing
you did say this,
the thing
that's not the way it is.
Yeah,
so on.
100%. The thing with Randy though is he's done this before. He likes to play the victim. in a lot of these. With the issue he had,
just need to take his fucking mic away.
yeah, with the issue he had previously, when people called him out with the whole aliens, the marine, colonial marine shit, sapping the funding from that. He came out with the same exact thing. He's like making himself the victim in interviews and stuff like that. Like, why are these people attacking me? Stuff like that. And he's doing it again, and he keeps doing it, and he does not. Whoever, I understand he's the CEO, but there's got to be someone above him, right? Like the investors probably are not happy with him. Someone to like slap him in the face and be like, "Bro, just shut the fuck up. Stop talking to people. You're ruining the image of this company with your dumb banter on the internet. Like, you shouldn't be engaging in keyboard war with people over Twitter, making yourself look like an idiot." And if you want to see any of this, just look up Randy Pitchford's Twitter. I don't think he's taken anything down, but you can find.
He still tried to get the fucking editor to apologize, and the guy's like, "Dude, I back up my reporters. They did the right thing."
Yeah, no, the editor.
And to his credit, like, he handled himself well the entire time, and he never once bit into Pitchford's baiting.
Let me find.
But that's that anyway.
Because I feel like
it doesn't. What were you talking about now with the new Randy Pitchford thing?
I want to.
I'll touch on James Charles and the Pro Jared shit.
One thing I want to recognize is that, man, the dude that actually backed up because he did an excellent job managing that situation. I just don't know who he worked with. I think it was actually
the editor.
It was the editor. It was the editor in chief, but I'm thinking of what publication he was with. Fuck, I know it.
I want to say it was. I don't remember if it was IGN
or
it wasn't. Kotaku. It was like one of those.
I don't think it was.
It was one of the gaming publications.
Let me see. Actually, let me see who he actually gets. Fuck, do I really have to sign into Twitter to see this? Oh, I want to know.
It was one of those ones that gets a lot of criticism.
I think it might have been GameSpot's editor-in-chief.
Yeah, it might. I think, that might have been GameSpot because they get
a
lot of shit.
Oh, wait. Oh my god, I found like a 14 fucking tweet thing. Let's see. What is this? Oh, Andy McNamara? Yeah, Game Informer. That's what it was.
Game Informer. Yeah.
Yeah, so the editor at Game Informer, I've actually found the whole fucking thread right here. But he did an excellent job managing that situation. Again, like you said, he backed up his staff. Was just basically saying that he wasn't trying to defame Randy. He was just clarifying what was going on. And some people have looked at the article, and to a degree, the way it's worded, you can see that there's kind of an intent. It's weird because it all comes down to like what's the word? It's not syntax, but it's the way you word a sentence. There's a name for it. I don't fucking remember. But like the way that the paragraph is phrased, something along those lines. The way that it's phrased, it feels like, because he says like despite, which in earlier English there's like it's always an intention to like pronounce the opposite, something along those lines. So I was reading someone talk about it, but like if you look and read the article, the first intent, you can see that there is no attacking going on, like from first intent. They're just clarifying a statement. They're saying like, even though he said that there was no microtransactions, they're cosmetic. He didn't say anything trying to demonize him. He didn't say anything trying to make Randy Pitchford look bad. It was just clarifying that statement. And that's fine. And so, yeah, he backed up his team, and then there's this huge shit about it. But this next thing's coming out this is an actual article because there's a lot here, and I didn't want to just pull out little bits. I want to give you guys a good, decent understanding of the context of what's going on. So this is Eddie Makic of GameSpot. Borderlands 3 original Claptrap voice actor makes serious accusations against Gearbox's CEO Randy Pitchford. So basically, David Eddings, the original voice actor for Claptrap from the Borderlands series, who is not returning for Borderlands 3, has recently shared insight onto his situation at Gearbox after Randy Pitchford came out and called him bitter and disgruntled. So he basically came out, and I'm going to read his tweets so you can get an idea of what he was talking about. Basically, David Eddings came out, and he was let go. According to Randy Pitchford, he was terminated from Gearbox. He came out and said, I was fine moving on after Gearbox, but when my former boss starts mouthing off about various aspects of my employment, including, quote, how highly compensated I was and how, quote, generous he is, I feel obligated to correct the record. I had a lot of mixed feelings when asked to reprise the role of Claptrap late last year, and eventually realized I was willing to put differences aside and do something cool for Borderlands fans with my friends at Gearbox. I ultimately offered to do it for free in exchange for past royalties owed, plus an apology for something I've never spoken about publicly until now. And then this you can kind of take how you will. I don't really think there was any need to bring up this tea. Again, but basically Randy had physically assaulted him in the lobby of a Marriott at GDC 2017. He says, personally, I think Randy's been on tilt the last few years. He's not the victim he portrays himself to be. I even blocked him a couple years ago for stalking me on social media. Enough is enough. It's not nice. It's nice not feeling the need to spot any sleight of hand these days or wonder if the card was chosen or forced. I'm happy to be free from the half-troops and full-on deceptions, and thankful to no longer hear people referred to as muggles like a con man refers to a mark. As an aside, it seems a bit conspicuous that he chimed in on my salary but didn't mention anything about the $12 million of revenue he siphoned away from the employee royalty pool. For your information, GBX employees are asked to take lower salaries with the promise of royalty shares. 2K says they won't give a statement regarding an ongoing lawsuit, but if the allegation is false, then it sure seems a lot easier to just deny it since it's the only reason they're mentioned. The whole thing stinks. Basically, people had come out asking about Gearbox, and he replied saying, nah, man, Gearbox is full of amazingly talented game developers. It's not fair to blame the employees for the actions of one person. Be kind. They're the ones forced to cringe and bear it every time the boss shoots himself in the foot. So brought to light a few things. Again, the whole physical assault thing, it doesn't feel like it was entirely necessary, but basically came out. But the whole royalty things, I think, would, because the original comments from Pitchford were talking about how generous the pay was for him as an employee and stuff like that. But basically, he came out, dropped a bunch of stuff regarding a little bit more the inner workings of Gearbox and having to deal with Pitchford as a boss. And it's just, there's more and more stuff that just keeps coming out about this gentleman. And again, none of this is I don't want to sound like we're out to attack. That's not our intention. I'm just trying to bring information up front. And I think if someone does shitty things, they should not necessarily pay the price, but have to understand that consequences come with the shitty things. So if you're going to treat people like shit, that will eventually come back around to get you. And if the lawsuits do go through or whatever, then that will be its own thing. But there's just more and more as we get closer to the release of Borderlands 3. There's more and more that make me... I'm still going to buy the game, but because there's a lot of people that worked very hard on this outside of just Randy Pitchford, but it makes me like that man less and less, just because he just seems like he has a very fragile a view of himself to be the way that he is online.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of Kanye West. Like maybe he needs medication.
It might even be to that degree, because even David said, or Mr. Eddings or whatever, had said that he feels like he's been on tilt for the last few years. It could be something that snapped one day and he never really seeked out help for it. But even the thing with asking to take lower pay in exchange for royalties in the company and then not receiving that money, a whole $12 million pool. Again, this is all stuff coming from Mr. Eddings, so we don't know exactly the fact check of this and how true all of it is.
He's a good voice actor. I've enjoyed his work. Claptrap's one of my favorite characters. Him and Scooter.
Yeah. So it's just, again, more stuff that has come out about this. I hope that but like to think that we had lost the voice actor of Claptrap because of all this, and he was thinking about coming back, but now he's not because of things that Randy Pitchford have done. It's just it just doesn't bode well for the series as a whole. With all this drama happening, the game, obviously we've already seen it suffers because now they don't have Claptrap as a voice actor, which one could say is one of the mainline characters of the the brand that is Borderlands. He's one of the characters that made it into part of the charm that it has. A lot of it is in the writing, but still, like that, those performances did help boost that. And it's fucking crazy. The microtransactions, it's just, there's a lot of sneaky shit going on, and it doesn't make me feel very good about supporting the game, even though I'm still going to, because again, I feel like a whole team should not suffer for the actions of one man. But it's crazy. What do you think, Shawn? I mean,
I think it's gotten me to the point where I'm almost considering not picking up the game because it's video game companies are becoming just as rotten as other companies, and they have to hold themselves to a higher standard, and they just don't feel the need to. You're running into situations with these companies that you never used to see. And I know that the potential for those situations to always have been there have been there. There have been corruptions in the companies, but it was just much less frequent. They were smaller, they weren't so big. They they didn't have as much of this power going to their heads. They didn't have as much influence.
yeah, I think a lot of it
And
also,
now that they're so big and they've got so much going on, there's just so much easier for them to step on their employees
yeah.
and to step on the consumer. And with the free flow of information now, you're seeing more and more frequently that bad shit is happening more and more frequently. And I think it's not just that we're more aware now. I just think it's easier to do. You have more moving parts now than you've ever had before in the industry. So I think that there needs to be, and I don't mean this to reduce the Me Too movement, but there needs to be kind of a Me Too movement in terms of cleaning up the video game industry in the industry. You need to have people standing up and going, we're not putting up with this bullshit anymore. You're going to be clear and upfront with the money. You're going to create a solid product before it's released. You're going to stop, manipulating customers into spending extra money on a game on content that was there in the beginning and you just locked out because you wanted more money. You're going to be less greedy, but you're still going to be a fucking successful business. You're going to make money. You're not going to make billions, like 3 billion. You're going to make 2.5. You're going to be all right. There needs to be something to start just like working on all of this because it's across the board. You've got corruption amongst the CEOs. You've got people abusing their employees. And I get some of it. I get it. If you start off and you're three guys in a room making games, you can look at it like Game Grumps, right? Game Grumps, they're still Game Grumps at heart, but they've cleaned up their act a lot because they're a bigger organization now. They've got more influence, more power, they've got more jobs going on, more projects. They don't behave like they used to. And whereas some of that is still there, like I think you mentioned they read like a fanfic or something like that. They have matured, and you can't not be surprised, but you can't be surprised by that. And if you look at that studio that made what's that, League? What are
Riot.
they called?
Riot, yeah.
Riot. You look at Riot Games. When Riot Games started, doing dick and fart jokes in the office was fine. Talking about banging your girlfriend the night before was fine. You had like 15 employees or 10 employees. They were a bunch of friends. It's been like 10, 15 years since then, or however long. The company is massive now. They've got all these employees, and not everybody is part of that club from the beginning. You cannot continue behaving is the same way. Dude, I'm a big offender of this. I'm one of those people that believes that people should not be so sensitive. They shouldn't be so upset over things. You
Yeah.
should be able to talk about stuff and them go, you know what? I don't agree with that. I don't think you were correct in saying that, but you're a different person and this is a big world. But we're in a society now where at the very least you should try to respect the people around you, and I do that much. And if our organization got bigger and we ended up having 8, 10, 15 employees, I would not talk with you around them the way that I talk with you now. I mean, I would still talk with you that way, but it would be in an office.
Just
It
imagine.
wouldn't be on the floor. I wouldn't
Yeah.
wouldn't walk up and be like, "What's up? Let's do some cock sucking."
Yeah.
Like it was an office meeting. And like Riot was having issues like that. They were having people act like they're not at home. And I get it. You shouldn't have to be 100% professional 100% of the time. And I think that the world is so uptight now where they expect you to be a certain way at certain times, and that bothers me. And I think that the world is a lot more uptight than it used to be, and that bothers me. And PC bothers me. But there is a difference between being forced to be PC just because and having some common decency and respect for the people around you. And I don't agree with PC, but I do agree of deciding to have some respect with the people that you're with and the people that are around you and the people that are working with you. And I ride that line sometimes. I'll be the first person to admit it. But I also know that when I do it, I'm wrong. And you cannot have the industry behaving like it used to. And you can't have them doing all this fucked up new shit either. You've got to look at your company and figure out how how do I want this to be? What do I want the experience to be for my employees, and what do I want the experience to be for my customers? And how do I make that happen and still keep us profitable? And if you keep all three of those things in line, I think you'll be fine. But yet you should have a series of checks and balances that keep CEOs from getting too big for their fucking britches. You should not allow them to fucking run wild on Twitter,
Yeah, no.
and
God.
allow them to fucking run their mouths because they do not. It's just they don't know what's going on.
Because I understand the whole thing, because then people will throw back like the idea it's like people should have the right to obviously speak their mind and shit, which is yeah, that's right. But there's also
But you're when you're talking on Twitter as a company employee, there becomes limits.
oh well yeah, but the
Like
thing is
if I was to start a Twitter and I was to talk like from my personal angle, and then I was to frame it as if I was talking officially for Thought Patrol, and then I got
I'd
a bunch
fire
of people
us.
mad at
No,
us
it's
and got
fine.
us a lawsuit. Yeah, like I would be kicked out, and that's the way it should be.
No, yeah, no, 100%.
If I
The
started
thing
a Twitter and it was my own personal Twitter, and I reflected negatively on my workplace, that's a gray area, but that's a totally different kind of discussion. He wasn't talking as Randy Pitchford, the guy who happens to work in gaming. He was talking as, "Hey, I'm the mouthpiece for my company."
another
And he
thing
made his company look like shit.
yeah, another thing that's interesting is a lot of people come with the freedom of speech thing, but the thing with like being able to actively say what's on your mind, just because you have the right to say it, that doesn't give you freedom from any coincidence
Repercussions,
that
yeah.
come with it.
No, he's
Yeah,
totally allowed to say it, but they're allowed to punish him for it.
exactly. That it just comes with the territory. You should not be allowed to. And again, if you're in a situation where your health is at risk and you are speaking out about something, that's an entirely different discussion because there's more going on than just the fame of a company because you have lives at stake at that point. And there's always it's a gray area, but there's like levels to the gray area because that's how gray works. It's not just again.
And not every situation should be treated the same.
No, definitely not.
There are different circumstances for different people at different times. But in general, if you are reflective of the organization you work for, you should be keeping that into consideration when you speak. Period.
100% because there's you're and yeah it's crazy and everyone he's done it before. Hopefully something goes on, someone tells him like, hey man, you can't be doing this, you got to think that we got a game launching in a few months, we don't want any like bad press and it's just, and this isn't even the type of bad press that can lead to, because like they're not even talking about the game, they're just talking about how much of a dumbass Randy Pitchford is. So this bad press is literally
with that actor, what's his name, brought out, like if there's this kind of corruption where they're stealing from their employees,
oh yeah,
how does that not trickle down into bad game? Like, I mean, how is our game not going to suffer because of that?
Oh yeah, that and also if that is true, because remember these are all coming from one man. We don't have any solid evidence, innocent until proven guilty,
That's
all that
true,
stuff.
alleged.
Yeah, but the other thing is Randy Pitchford has a history of being a lying, self-victimizing piece of doo doo.
Well, he
So
literally stole money from the Aliens game
yeah,
to put it
again,
into Borderlands 2.
so it's more like we have a hunch it might be true because there's a history there, but we're not straight out saying that what the claptrap or Mr. Hennings, I forget his name, because I closed the article, but what he's saying is 100% true. But if it is, again, that could be serious allegations. It could be a serious problem for Gearbox if that is the case. And again, he was
I don't think
trying.
he should have spoken on it unless he was, if he's not planning on doing anything legally. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
no.
how
Same
constructive it
thing
is
with
to bring it
the
up in the first
same thing with
place.
the physical assault thing. Like if it wasn't something that seriously damaged him, it just seems like he's bringing up shit at that point. But another thing is like with that 12 million, if that is true, that kind of has it fits with this conversation because Randy did come out talking about how much he was paid and what was and that how generous he was as a person. So if you're combating discussion that way, I could see the 12 million being more important than the actual physical assault. I just felt like that was something to throw in just for an extra punch in regards to how, because if no one knows who this voice actor is, just besides him being Claptrap, and he comes out with something like that, it's more of working towards attacking someone else. And I don't really necessarily 100% agree with that. But if the 12 million's true, that could be bad for the company. That's a serious thing because that's more than just outside of the voice actor's life. It's affecting all the
Pitchford needs
companies.
to stop taking everything like it's fucking personal.
Stop acting like the goddamn Cheeto that runs this country and should just limit his
Cheeto.
access to the internet.
Cheeto. I haven't
Yeah,
heard that before. That's fantastic.
yeah. So it's crazy. Again, I think as much as I love the internet and that you can get the opinion of anyone as long as they're willing to give it out. It does come with its own limits that you just have to be aware of and understand that when you are, again, like you said, representing a group in any degree, you need to have some form of professionalism in how you carry yourself. So
I don't like, for example, I do not link my Facebook. I don't link my Facebook to my current
yeah,
workplace
that's where all your dick
because
pics
I
are.
throw all kinds of weird, yeah, of course.
Weeaboo shit.
I throw all kinds of weird rocket. I mean, you guys have heard my opinions before, and they're not always PC, and I own that. And I own responsibility for it, and I've suffered the responsibility of it before. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop being me, or I'm going to stop saying things that I either want to say or think need to be said.
Yeah, you're not gonna
But
stop having those discussions.
I will not attach my Facebook to my workplace because then as soon as people know that I work someplace, I become a voice box for that workplace by default. That doesn't mean that that's fair, but that's the way life is. And I'm not going to sit there and represent a workplace as or put myself out there as a voice box for a workplace. I just don't think that that's proper. Even a place that I don't like, as much as I hate the place that I work at now, I would not associate myself with them on social media. It's just
Another
not something I'll do. I've got my past workplaces on there, but I'm not going back there.
a lot of times, even if
You
you
know?
work for a bigger, like a Fortune 500, a lot of times they don't even want you saying that you are working with them. Like if you work for Apple, a lot of times it's just like, hey, just don't mention that you work for us in case something stupid does happen. They're just kind of covering their bases there.
Yeah, and some of them have clauses where like, your behavior on social media is going to be monitored because people will know you work for us or people will know this. So we expect you, if you want to not be visible, then don't link yourself to the company because the
Yeah,
moment you do, we have to fucking keep an eye
yeah.
out
Just
because we have to protect
make a new
everyone's financial income, not just yours.
make a new Twitter, a waifu smasher 69, and then just go about your daily shit. Fine. So okay.
I just think video games in general, I think the industry is suffering right now. I think there's a lot of people, bad actors out there that just need to quit the industry and companies that need to fucking really take a look at how they're behaving
Yeah.
because they seem to just be making excuses for themselves now.
I think
Even
it.
if you look at how EA was talking about how they want to change policies in the future with certain games. They got a game coming out, I don't remember what it was, but they just did an interview where they were talking, and the guy was oh no, it wasn't EA. Oh, no, it was EA, because he was talking about Anthem. And he was explaining why he thought Anthem failed, and that from now on, when they release games, they're not going to do this drip feed process. Basically, the premise now is they're going to release games in test form, which like is basically what happened with fucking Anthem. Like they're going to release if they're going to release things, they're going to make sure they're going to do it in increments. Like, here's our basic version, and this is what we're working with. Kind of like what they did with Fortnite, where Fortnite was a full-blown game for a year, and hasn't even been officially released yet.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But they're going to be following that pattern from now on, which is not like it's all that different from what they've been doing, but following the mobile markets pattern and following the pattern that was established with Fortnite, where you're like, okay, we've got this game, now we're just going to release it and have you guys play test it for us for a year, is not the way to go. Like, instead of moving back in the direction of releasing a finished game, now we'll release an unfinished game, charge you $60 for it, and then we'll do the full release a year later.
Yeah. AAA begots money, money begots greed, greed begots suffering art. Put it on a t-shirt. That's pretty much what happens, man. I mean, a lot of it, we still see indies adhere to what originally attracted us to games, because there's not the insane flow of money around them. They're just making it out of passion. It's not about making money. It's not about the greed. It's not about how much you can get.
It can be about making money as long as you don't lose sight of quality.
Well, yeah, but the money is never the focus. It's always a side. Like, it's something that comes out of putting passion into a project. The money's a byproduct. The money's not what's on the full front of everyone's mind, where you're working on obtaining that first, and then the passion can maybe be sprinkled in later, kind of thing. And that's what a lot of AAA games are working with now.
Well, now it's all about money. It's the entirety of the focus.
But yeah, again,
maybe not on the lower end of the spectrum, but yeah, no.
I wouldn't say with like a lot of indie titles it's not the case, because I still think there's a shitload.
AAA titles.
Yeah, I still think there's a shitload.
AAA titles, everything's an investment. They need to please the investors and raise stock prices.
Yeah.
And they'll do whatever it takes with whatever it is that the game guys are working on, the designers are working on, in order to maximize fucking return. And I get it, that's fine. But you need to have some sort of level of ethics where you say, no, we're not doing that.
Even just respect.
That's stooping too low.
You're not treating your consumers as just dollar signs. You're treating them as people that love this medium, and you respect them to a degree to give them a complete product that they'll enjoy, not something that you're just trying to get. Again, you just see them as dollar signs. I think there was a video by, was it Jim Sterling? It was like turning players into payers, and it talks a lot about like the AAA market and things that they've patented and methods that they've worked on that completely reinforce just the idea of seeing people as money and how to get as much money as people as possible. It also delves a little bit into the mobile game market. It was a very enlightening video. It was very interesting to see exactly to what lengths they employ to just get as much money as they can out of the people consuming their products. So a very interesting video. I highly recommend it. I love Jim Sterling. I think he's a very good content creator. Yeah, you could consider a video games journalist. I think he does a good job.
He's also a wrestler.
I did not fucking know that.
He's very proud of.
That's badass. But
yeah, he has his fucking wrestling belt in his videos like 9 times out of 10 now.
That's what that is. Oh, it's just a prop. He's an actual wrestler. No, that's cool as fuck.
He references it constantly.
Oh, I haven't seen all of his videos, but what I have seen of him is really good. But definitely, again, one more time, that is turning players into payers. And it's a whole video, just like a 30-minute video detailing all of these like scummy practices being put. There's whole companies built around putting information in front of a consumer of a game at the right time, all about putting the most tantalizing thing in front of you so that you are, as like the whole thing with the FOMO, fear of missing out, all of that was built by these companies that are, their whole MO is psychologically manipulating people into spending more money on a product, and that's a lot of what the video talks about, and that whole process, that mental warfare going on when you open a game and look at the store, and just how perfectly they're designed to get those right reactions out of you. It is insane. Definitely very interesting thing to
They do
check
the
out.
same thing with mobile games. They're all designed to
Oh yeah,
trigger
that's
certain
100% what
responses.
the idea is. Even like there's a dude that one dude made a video about Fortnite that was talking about that. I think it was called manufacture. No, it wasn't manufactured scarcity. It was something else. It was a video about Fortnite, and it basically broke down every element of its store from the UI and explained how it was all designed perfectly to evoke those emotions that would be making you more willing to drop a few bucks on the game. So it's crazy. But again, there's so many games doing that now, especially in the AAA space. I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's fucking very interesting video. So Shawn, we got YouTube drama. Let's talk about it real quick. What's going on?
Well, James Charles, notable YouTube beauty drama guy or beauty YouTuber
Yeah.
who's been coming out with makeup lines and repping for beauty lines and so on and so forth. It's come out that he has been on the very least emotionally sexually assaulting. Oh, that's a strong word. How should I put it?
Manipulating
He
the
he
sexuality.
started when he was 17, right? He gets into the YouTube scene. He gets boosted by this chick named Tati,
Yeah, he's 19
who's
now.
working on various. Yeah, he's 19 now, and he worked on various types of makeup, and he did her makeup when she got married, and she kind of took him over under her wing and adopted him as like a son almost.
Mm-hmm.
And had hopes that he would grow into a good person, a strong person, because he wasn't apparently that bad when he came out there. Um, but she groomed him, on YouTube, taught him, had her husband teach him. Her husband used to be this big time bigwig in like Hollywood or some shit like that, and knew about contracts and things like that. And so they kind of basically gave him his start. He had a channel, it wasn't doing fantastic, and she helped boost him, never asked for anything in return. And she's very well respected in the community. Like she's Mother Teresa in this community. She's only in her 30s. She's still young, but she's older than a lot of the other beauty YouTubers out there, and she's done very well for herself in an area that is not dominated by women. And she's done extraordinary. And he he betrayed her, which is not the problem that I have. Like that's a YouTube drama thing when one YouTuber dicks over another YouTuber. But basically, he went to her competitor behind her back and made her look foolish. But the big bad part is that he's notorious and he's done this in front of her. And this was one of the things she confronted him about in a video where he goes after younger folks, people that are in his age range who are still figuring out their sexuality or have figured it out but are susceptible to pressure from people who have millions and have tons of fame. Because he likes to bang straight guys, he likes to seduce straight guys, and he pressures and pushes and manipulates the straight men around him who attempt to befriend him or in his vicinity so that he can have his way with them. And he's not been shy about this. He kind of relates it as a joke or a piece of humor. And I was talking before we did the podcast about how I had friends. Believe it or not, I've been very social in my past, and I've known hundreds and hundreds of people. um, and there was periods of time where I had a lot of friends who were in the drag queen community, who were in the very prevalent in the gay party scene, and people who I would hang out with or would go to clubs with me, bars with me, movies, festivals, etc. And one of them used to constantly say that he liked to break straight guys, like he liked to go after straight guys, and I used to laugh it off like, haha, whatever, because bear in mind at the time that I knew him, like he was 19 and I was like 24 or 25, and I was already thoroughly entrenched. Like I've been thoroughly entrenched in him being heterosexual for a very long time. But I mean, I've known that since kindergarten, but there's not everybody is on that same page, and a lot of people are still figuring things out into their early 20s, and that's fine. And no one has the right to go in and prey upon these people and try and fuck with their choice
Yeah.
and who they are and who they sleep with and who they want to be and what their preferences are. And it's coming out that he is abusing his power and his wealth to prey on people. He is betraying friends and just making him out to be an altogether shitty person. And because of that, and because of this coming out, and because of his betrayal of Tati, which again, if you want to get into the drama aspect of it, I'm not really going to get into that, but he did do her dirty. Um, he's hemorrhaging subscribers right now.
I
Now he
actually
has like 14 million.
I actually
Pardon?
have their counts up, and in the last 6 days, um, James Charles has lost 2 million subs. But one thing about this that's always interesting is, again, the whole thing that negative PR isn't always bad PR, is that his view count has exponentially skyrocketed in the last 2
Yeah, I don't think
days.
this is going to be a long-term death for him. I don't think it's going to affect him like Jared, which we'll touch on next.
Yeah, but in the last 2 days, he's had upwards of the late teens millions of views. So 19 million views on Saturday, 17 million on Sunday, which estimate anywhere between $5,000 to $76,000, according to Social Blade. So again, the whole thing that it's a short run disaster. It's not going to ruin his brand. I don't necessarily
He's
think
too high up for it to matter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, I agree with you.
It's not that bad damaging, because if it was to the point where he was making jokes about it, being a 17-18-year-old and talking about converting straight guys to gay, and no one had really enough of an issue with it now, where the biggest thing now is the whole Tati thing and him fucking her over with the brand deal, then
See, that's not the part that concerns me as much.
No, me neither. I don't give a fuck about brand deals, but that whole thing.
Like, it wasn't the brand. It's not that he fucked. He went to a competitor, and then one of the sycophants that he surrounds himself with, another big time gay YouTuber, basically shit talked her and made her look very bad, and not only tried to damage her brand, but damage her reputation as a YouTuber and amongst YouTube. And it's turning into a dirt flinging war.
Gotcha.
And she won't play. So she had one video. She had an emotional reaction, and she did a 2-minute thing on Instagram, and then she came back and did like a 43-minute video on YouTube. And if you want to know more about it, she's fairly well spoken. And nothing in anything that she said came across as untoward or unfounded. It all came across very, very, very honest. And James Charles' apology video came across like absolutely disingenuous, to the point where he was almost laughing
When
at
has
things
a
at certain
fucking
points.
apology video been
There's been some good ones. There have been some good ones. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I do remember a few that were effective enough.
Still, like,
But this one was clearly not an apology video, and he really doesn't come out and apologize. And he also tried to make up excuses, and it's clear that this was all arranged ahead of time, and he's trying to make it play like it wasn't. And it's pretty clear that for the way that the situation played out, which again I'm not going to go into, but it was all arranged. Like, he knew he was fucking her over. He knew it would hurt her, and he set things up ahead of time so that he would be able to try and cover his tracks. And it's just she didn't fall for it.
yeah.
And I don't think really anybody did at this point. But I think what's more concerning is the fact that you have a culture, and Philip DeFranco's touched on this before. You've got a culture in YouTube of people who have come up in YouTube and fallen into wealth, power, and influence. And there's nobody keeping a check on these people. There's nobody telling them that the way they're behaving is inappropriate. And she tried telling him, and it didn't go anywhere. But their power is unchecked. You've got sycophants just giving them the answers that they want to hear. And we're ending up in a culture where you have a bunch of predators and people abusing their power, and nobody's stopping them. Like, there's no checks and balances to try and fix this, to try and make this right. And that is a big problem. And that's the part I think that I find most concerning, is the fact that you have story after story after story coming out recently. And I think this bleeds into a little bit with Pro Jared, but it's not like this is the first guy we've heard of who gained power and then became a giant piece of shit.
Hmm.
And if you watch a James Charles video, he never comes across as a sympathetic person. He comes across as a diva.
Yeah, no.
And divas are
Everything I've
supposed to
seen,
be arrogant.
everything I've seen about him just reinforces the idea that he feels and looks like a douchebag. I don't know, like nothing against his orientation, anything else like that. It's just the way he carries himself. The only aura I've ever gotten from him was a douchebag. So I don't
Yeah,
see any of
I
this as
agree.
a surprise.
No, I really wasn't surprised. And now don't get me wrong, there are divas that are the glam queens and they're kind of bitchy about stuff, but in the long run they're not bad people. They're just kind of professionally arrogant, but that's part of the show.
Yeah,
It's well, I mean, sometimes it's part of the show. But in this case, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, they choose to be good people, and in this case, I don't think that's what we see here. And whereas I don't think he's going to be damaged the way that he should be, unfortunately, I think it does serve as a little bit of a lesson, and I hope that with more and more youth going into this arena, that we might start seeing people trying to be a little bit more responsible with how they behave. Because when you're in the light and you've got power and money, you can do a lot of what you want. This is the same kind of problem that Hollywood's facing now with the Me Too movement is a power structure that's gone unchecked for so long is starting to crumble from within because they're no longer in an echo chamber where it's only their same
yeah. It's
viewpoints
so
that are
easy
being
to get
shared.
something out to the public now with the
Right.
interconnectivity of the internet that it's, again, yeah, you're right, 100%. It can crumble.
But again, with James Charles, I think the lesson here is to keep an eye on how people behave and to not abuse their power because he is preying on people who are emotionally
Mm,
growing
yeah.
still, who are trying to find their own identities, and he's abusing his power to take advantage of people. And that to me is a type of assault that is unforgivable. As for the other end of the drama spectrum that's covered recently that we'll touch on a little bit, but it's been covered ad nauseum, so we're going to be very brief, is the Pro Jared debacle.
Yeah.
The guy who we thought was a to
It's a
for the
0 out of
I don't know
10
half of a
broken
person.
marriages.
Yeah, for the half of a
That
person who
meme.
doesn't know what happened, I will condense it as heavily as possible. Um, it appears that Ross of the Game Grumps, when his marriage dissolved last September, there are to try and give it to you in sequence. Ross and his wife divorced in September. Jared's videos were removed from Game Grumps in late September, early October. Holly, Ross's wife, moves to Seattle, which is near to where Jared lives. For the next several months, uh, uh, Jared's wife, Heidi, eventually comes across his old phone, which has texts and video, text and pictures, nudes, but happening between Holly and Jared during this period. So people are conjecturing that Jared and Holly's infidelities to their respective spouses were what broke Ross's marriage. Ross has not come out and said that. As a matter of fact, when the marriage dissolved, he said it was amicable. But he has released 3 tweets recently that kind of lean a little bit into the fact that his life is good. He likes where it is now. He's in a happy place. If you'd asked him back in September, he would not have guessed that he would have bounced back the way that he has. But what he's been seeing has been hurtful, and he needs to take some time to himself, and he doesn't want it. And that to me tells me that either he did not know, or he had his suspicions, or something. What he's finding out now is clicking up with stuff that none of us know about because it was his personal life and he's trying to stay the fuck away from it and not be hurt any more by it than he can avoid. Um, but anyway, come around February, Jared completely cold shoulders his wife, and then he announces several days ago that he was getting divorced, and then they're trying to handle it a good way, and he just wants people to respect their privacy. But then he also says, come to your conclusions in case you hear things and so on and so forth. This is Jared trying to jump in front of the bullet because he came out about the divorce, even though like they've been working on the divorce since January or February, without telling her. And
Didn't
she
even go
told
like
him
go to
that if you
the
do,
didn't even go to the like he went to like the extremes of even blocking her so she couldn't see the
He blocked her before he released it. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm So Heidi had enough and went to social media and blew the doors off. And come to find out, Jared has been doing a form of gaslighting on her for years. I find it believable the way that she words it. She has apparently a ton of evidence. She has plenty of evidence. Apparently, she's got Jared's old phone that I mentioned, where it's got months and months of text going back and forth between Jared and Holly. And before Holly, also who comes off as a saint, before you try and paint Holly to be a victim, Holly was the one trying to break up the marriage. Holly was aggressively going after Heidi in the text, was aggressively trying to get Jared to leave her, was aggressively pursuing the relationship. Although it doesn't sound, again, there's a lot we don't know. Consider the majority of this alleged. The only truth is that Jared's a scumbag, and he cheated on his wife, and they're broke up now. But the end result is Holly comes out, gives all this data, does not give a lot of facts, but just says she can back them up if needs be. And I believe that. I have been in an emotionally abusive relationship before. I have been actually in 3 to varying degrees. I will never do one again. The first
Acting
one was
like
the
it's
worst.
something
The
you
second one,
sign up for. Yeah,
I,
no, I
well,
get on
yeah,
that roller
it
coaster.
was, well, the first time I did not understand what it was.
Yeah.
And it took me many years to understand what happened to me in that relationship. The second time, I started to figure it out much more much more quickly after the relationship dissolved. Like, it didn't take long for it to click. And the third time, the moment it started, I dumped her because I'm not falling for that shit anymore. But I understand what it's like to be gaslit. I understand what it's like to call your own sanity into question and your own perception of events into question when somebody is so convincing. And when you're a fairly convincing person yourself, um, you know, and somebody else, but you blind yourself with your emotions because you want things to be good. I know where she's coming. So the way that she words things makes a lot of sense to me, and it's what kind of makes me feel that she's being honest. And I don't think she would have done this if Jared would have been forthright with his coworkers and friends about what he's been doing, which is the demands that she had. In order for, she's like, all right, I'm not going to, because he wanted her to sign an NDA, and she said no. And she's like, but I will not say anything about you. I will not go after you. I will leave peaceably as long as you are honest to your friends and to our friends about what you've been doing and about how you've treated me. Because he basically ran a smear campaign on her with everyone in the industry to try and get them away from her, from being caught. Now, here's where the big problem is. All of that isn't our business. Jarrett put it out in the public eye because he decided to try and get in front of the train because he was afraid of what she would do.
Mhm.
And that's what drew her ire and what drew her response. Now, here's the problem. In the process of saying about how Jared was cheating on her and this, that, the other thing she brings up is that Jared was running these nude sites to get people to send him nudes, and he was grooming people to send him nudes, and he was sending them nudes as well. And that's all fine and dandy. Have your kinks as long as your wife's okay with it. Here's the thing: she wasn't.
And most of them
She
were
tried to be
underage,
okay with
weren't
it for
they?
a while. No, some of them were
Oh,
clearly underage,
okay,
and that's
gotcha.
where the problem comes in. Is that he knew some of them were 16 and 17.
That's
Some of them talked about gender identity issues they were struggling
that's a
with,
big bad.
and he preyed on that weakness, and he preyed on their insecurities and their lack of growth and their lack of maturity to get them to send him nudie pics, and he sent them nudie pics in response. And then when they didn't play his game, he trash talked them and uh, verbally abused them. So Jared is a monster, and I hope that he is processed to the fullest extent of the law, as long as these alleged things are true.
Yeah.
And
Again,
in
all
all
of this.
likelihood, it looks like it will be true because there are people on Twitter who are now working with authorities and attempting to see what kind of justice they can
Yeah,
have
keep in
done.
mind
So we'll find shortly.
all of this drama we've mentioned is still all
As of
developing.
now,
Yeah, it's all
yeah, this is
developing.
now developing, and you can consider everything alleged thus far.
until it's proven to be true. So, although the internet has taken its jump start at melting these people to the
Holy
ground.
shit! Now you thought James Charles dropped a lot.
Well,
Fucking
Pro Jared's lost.
There's a good chance his career isn't coming back from this.
Yeah, he's not that. He is not that big, to be honest. He had about 1 million subs. He's lost a quarter of that.
A little over 1 million.
He's lost 200,000 in the last 4 days. He's lost 200,000. Again, the same thing we see here, where his view count shot up exponentially. The estimated earnings aren't as high. It might be because some of his content's demonetized for whatever reason, but I mean, actually, I don't know. They're just, the views aren't as much. Never mind, I'm retarded. But it's definitely.
Jared's a fairly prolific guy, though. I mean, he was close with the Grumps. He was Holly, like, close friends with them. He has done collabs with guys across the YouTube
And he
gaming
looks like a
scene.
fucking giraffe. Like,
does he not look like
ever
a fucking
giraffe?
Had a problem with that before, because he always came across as a Boy Scout.
He looks like a fucking
And
giraffe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, now it's a different ballgame entirely. Like, I'm totally fine with making fun of how he looks, because he's a piece of shit.
All right. Anything else to add?
It's fairly disturbing to see YouTuber, but again, this is a situation where you've got a guy who came into YouTube a while back, like 2010, which, I mean, guys like AVGN and whatnot were already established, but that at that time, he was working with other gaming groups, other comedy groups, but the scene was still growing. You know, I mean, PewDiePie was breaking out then. You had a lot of growth happening, and at the time, Jared was pretty young. Jared's in his 30s now, but at the time, I think Jared was like, well, like, he was just out of high school, and when he was doing this this nudie shit with people, I think he was like 27 or something like that. It's just a very different ball game now.
Yeah. And again, it's the same thing.
You have somebody abusing their power.
Yeah, they don't have any checks and balances in their friends group, so they don't have anyone to sit there and say, "Hey, bro." Well, again, sometimes a lot of this, like, I'm sure, happened behind closed doors too. But like, when the people in your group, with more with the James Charles thing, are just like yes men, they don't really check you on the shit. They don't really care about your growth as a person, but more is about who you are as a person, kind of thing. You kind of get a lot of this, and especially with people, and again, in the James Charles incident, younger individuals that aren't entirely developed in a mature sense, that it quickly can go to the head, and you can, love of money is the root of all evil. So it's definitely interesting. And for all of you that asks, who fucking cares about this YouTube drama? I got something you do fucking care about. Hentai Haven's back, boys.
I care because this is a direction that eventually I think we're going to move.
Oh,
and
yeah.
When we move in there, we're going to be coming into hostile territory. And every year that passes by, every month that passes by, YouTube becomes less and less of a fertile ground as time goes on, because people like this are destroying it. People like this are like these kinds of bad actors, these kinds of individuals that are exploiting the platform and using it for evil, so to speak, make it much more difficult for the rest of us to get in there and make a difference.
They're going to get another fucking adpocalypse when they find out that a dude cheated on his wife and was soliciting nudes from possibly underage people. No one's going to want to fucking throw any advertisement money at the site anymore, because no one wants to have the possibility of a Coke ad playing on a video of a dude that possibly solicited child porn. So they're not going to invest in the site, which is going to make it, again, less of a viable route for people trying to make it into a living. People that want to just have a typical, I don't know, fucking typical commentary gaming channel, or start up as a beauty channel, or start up as a tech channel. It's going to be harder to make that a viable option for sustaining a livelihood when you're not having any of these companies wanting to invest in ad revenue, because of
it's already hitting a point where people have to diversify now. They're not getting much of a choice.
Patreon.
That's why Normal Boots was formed in the first place. Oh, the other fun part, Normal Boots knew about the sexual like predatory shit that Jared did. They knew about it months ago and did nothing. they were, quote, investigating. They told Jared they didn't tell the rest of the creators, but the guys up top knew. Jacques and whatnot knew. The rest of the crew was not aware, and then Peanut Butter Gamer fucking made himself look like a dipshit by coming to his aid immediately. And that's the part that burns me a bit. John is by far not a terribly PC person, but John also, I do not for a moment believe that John was a racist. I think I understand what he was trying to say, and he botched it terribly.
Yeah, he just
he's
did
the
not.
first person to admit that he's no good at phrasing things off the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he tried to do. And whereas I
Mm.
with some of the statements he made, don't think for a moment that he's the kind of person that cancel culture immediately jumped on board to make him out to be. But the normal boots guys, in a drop of a hat, just immediately dropped him in the cold. And in this situation, you've got a guy cheating on his wife, breaking up a marriage, and potentially predating on underage children for sexual content. And Peanut Butter Gamer jumped to his aid. Like immediately, like he's like, "That ain't it, Chief." And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding
Is
me,
that literally
dude?"
what he said?
Yes,
Oh God,
that ain't it, Chief.
it's not a good
That's what
time to
he
react
starts
with
it. He's like,
memes. Memes are not welcome
when
here.
she's bringing it out, he's like, you shouldn't be airing this and whatever, and he did,
Okay, well,
and so on and so forth.
that's
But Peanut Butter's taking a pretty big hit from the subscriber loss too.
that's what's going on. Again, situations are developing. Guys, let us know what you think. What do you think about YouTube? If you don't give a fuck, let me know. I want to know that you don't give a fuck. What you think about Randy Pitchford? Don't give a fuck. Let me know. This could be the drama episode. There's a lot of drama. We usually don't focus on this too much, but some of these things are they can indirectly or directly affect what we come to know and love, and we can see it happen. We've seen it happen in prior in history and stuff like that. So to a degree, it still involves us. You don't necessarily have to care about what's going on, but being informed about it so you can understand when we do have a Adpocalypse 3.0 on YouTube, we kind of have a better idea of what's going on. It's just interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of drama as a whole, but I still think that some of these things can escalate to a degree where they are important to talk about and provide opinions, and just that's what we do. We just talk about shit. Let's fuck. That's what we're here for. So
I only follow it because it relates to some of what we do.
yeah.
And we do post our podcasts on there. And God forbid if people start really trying to crack down on what people talk about and their humor and shit like that, and
A dead ass
the
go
real
somewhere else.
censorship kicks in. Like, yeah,
Fuck that. Put me on Vimeo,
they're
boy.
creating a hostile environment.
All right. So again, let us know what you guys think about the whole situation. The few that we detailed here. Are you guys still excited to get Borderlands 3? Do you think Randy Pitchford is an idiot? What do you think about James Charles and trying to turn the straight man gay? What do you think about Pro Jared and his monster dong? Fucking let me know.
It's not a monster dog.
No, it's not. His dick is kind of small. It's hard to tell with dick pics though sometimes, because you're not aware of how flaccid to erect, like the ratio that they are, like how much blood is cycling through that dick at that moment. So it's not. Some people are growers, man. Like we said, some people are showers, some people are growers. So I don't know why I'm defending his penis on the internet, but
I really think that is not the position to take right now.
out of all these people like talking about him ruining marriages, you got Kyle coming out with the real facts. Like,
yeah, like his dick's not that bad.
His dick's a pretty above average wiener, guys. Like, come on, I'm spilling the real tea here. God, I hate that term. I don't know why I use it so much. Caitlyn uses it all the fucking time. I think
the tea thing?
Yeah,
dude,
I
that
think
just
it's so dumb.
blew up in the last few days. Like, I'd never heard it. Spilling the tea, and then there was another one. Like, I just did not know what the fuck. Like, I had to use context to figure that shit out.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and call it. Again, let us know what you guys think. Feel free to check out the other stuff we do here. Again, we do the Twitch streaming. There's VODs up there if you want to check some of the older streams that we did. We'd love to hear from you guys. Biggest thing, Discord, man. I want to talk to you guys. I'm almost always on Discord. Shawn's here and there. He works during the day. He doesn't have access to it. But I almost have full 24/7 access to Discord. You're going to come and say hi, talk to other people hanging out. It is one of my favorite things to do right now is just talk with people on Discord. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Again, that stuff will be down below in the description. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. As we always do, Shawn, get this ball rolling.
Hugs and kisses and all those glorious pink parts.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. On your underage pink parts, right, Shawn? That's the going theme.
Maybe not under 18 and up pink parts.
18 and up pink parts. If that pink part, I don't care if it's just the nose. If that pink part is not above the legal limit, I don't want it anywhere near my mouth. Get that shit away from me. So, we're going to move on.
I'll shake hands with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can shake hands.
Maybe a hug.
High five.
Yeah. Pardon me if I'm partially erect. There's other reasons outside of me just hugging you, depending on who you are. So, come on. Let a man be partially erect in public. There's nothing wrong with it. It's natural. God, what the fuck am I talking about?
On the wind, it gusts at the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, what is the fact that you're gonna?
Some of you may actually know about this. I did not, so I found it interesting. But I shall leave you all with the thought. The name Wendy was made up for the book Peter Pan. It was never recorded. There was never a recorded. Oh my God! There was never a recorded Wendy named before it.